And of course, yes, folks, it's in the village with the DAG Triplets on WZYE 95.9 FM. And we come to you every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday from 7 to 9 p.m. And of course, yes, it's in the village. Let me bring in 1/3 of the DAG Triplets here. You know, wave me, Diana, Ben Skinboy.
Good afternoon, listeners. Anselm, if you would, I'm getting a feedback. If you would allow me, I wrote a poem a long time ago in 2018 to Haiti. If you would allow me to read it, please.
Well, why don't we save it for the close?
I have something different for the close.
Oh, okay. All right. Because we already have Harvey Boris in the background waiting.
It's going to be brief.
All right, go ahead.
On the heels of what you did.
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Anselm. Haiti, mon ami. Bonjour, Haiti, mon ami, our beautiful neighbor in the Caribbean Sea. To say 𝗲𝗂𝗀𝗆𝗆 did liberate thee from the cruel existence under the then monarchy. Their disdain for your liberty would result in a monetary levy so pauperizing, so ridiculously heavy, These talons of hate you would repay for over a century. The merchants of Venice, full of gluttony, took the unsavory opportunity and invaded your shores by the many, exploited the Haitians, mon ami, for talons of minimal money, whilst in neighboring lands their talons were paid in plenty. Once again, you were enslaved tactfully. The global empires monetarily, the sole, the only beneficiary. A current global democracy invaded your shores, mon ami, and in your fragile situation, did forcefully rewrite your constitution. Some of your elected politicians did betray your votes, exposed as not for the Haitians. Those elected who had your interests at heart, mon ami, disdained and isolated by those external countries who benefited profitably, but sadly, not for you, courageous Haiti. The alleged bonjour, Haiti, mon ami, my beautiful neighbor in the Caribbean Sea. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Wave me, Diana Benskin, boy. Wave me, boy. We had us to play that one first here. Let me bring in Tommy here. Tommy, welcome to In the Village with the DAG Triplets. Tommy, welcome.
Good evening, family and friends. It's a pleasure to always be in the village. And I have to say, the storm has hit us again.
Yep.
Very hard.
She's hitting me too.
Yeah, let me say welcome to Lana. Run DMC. You are joining us for the first time. Where are you joining us from? And also Rastafari. That's David Rudder. You are absolutely correct. Where are you joining us from? Jenny C. Prasad has also joined us. Hi, Diana Benskin. Good night. And Run DMC says 5-321 today. What is that one?
Not sure.
Run DMC. What is 5-321? Diana, Tom, you guys know?
No, 5-321.
Yeah. I don't know. That must be a number.
Play with number. I don't know.
That's a play with number. Run DMC from Malabar, Rima. Run, welcome, man. First time in the village with the DAG Triplets on WZYE 95.9 FM. So let me don't waste no time. Let me bring in our host. Or you say COVID-19 cases. We have 5 deaths and 321 positive cases today.
Mm-hmm.
But you know something? I got to tell you guys something. We here in the village, we stopped giving up them numbers a little while ago.
Yeah.
You know, because those numbers are a little somewhat depressing. And,
Absolutely.
you know, we don't want to continue depressing people. So
let me do
this. Yeah, let me bring in our host tonight, the one and only, I love my countryman, Mr. Harvey Boris.
Wait. So he's the host. I could log off then and go and watch a movie I like that. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, whatever I guess. My bad. Yeah. I
guess
love my country.
We're so used to him being a host and saying that. I love my country.
Yeah. I mean, you know, easy. I love my country, man. You know, so Mr. Boris, we also have with us Diana, who is part of the DAG Triplets. It's Diana, Ansem, and Gary. You know, Diana is also with us. Diana is one of the co-hosts. We have Ansem, and then we have Gary. Gary's going to join us shortly. And we have another gentleman who is a 4th part of the DAG Triplets. They normally call him the outside child, but the ladies in the chat call him the love child. So, you know. Yeah. So, Mr. Boris, welcome to In the Village. And we appreciate, and let me tell you, Harvey, I had to say something. You is the second person that's a supporter of PNM, like I am, that we have invited to come into the village, and you have come into the village. The other person that came into the village is Paris, the councillor for Pleasantville. So let me say to you, we really appreciate you, you know, taking the time to join us here in the village with the DAG Triplets.
Thank you. It is my privilege, my honor, and respectfully, if I'm invited to something, once I have the time, I would make it, and as a grassroots from San Juan Pale to Ver, I also make myself available.
I see you have your flag to your left. Do you always do the interviews with your flag to your left? Is that
Left-hander.
Of course, thank you so much. So you know, we were very respectful here in the village. We like to call people Mr. and Mrs. You understand? So what should we call you, Senator Boris, Mr. Boris? What do you like to be?
Well, you said you normally use the surname and so on. I prefer just Harvey, but Mr. Boris is good. I'm good.
All right. We call you Mr. Boris. That's fine, right? We like to be very respectful in the village. So Harvey, we see many things going on in Trinidad and Tobago, Mr. Boris. We see many things going on in Trinidad and Tobago, and one of the main subjects that is on the tip of the voice. As a matter of fact, you know, what is your position? Let me go this, and this is a current issue. What is your position on the David Welch situation with him being arrested by the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service for his demonstration with respect to trying to deliver a letter to the Commissioner of Police? What's your position on that?
I really wish I didn't have to comment on that particular situation, and I'll tell you why. And I still comment on it, actually. David Welch, at my television program on CGTV, he was first a camera person there, then he was the director of the program, my program. And then when I started doing my Facebook Live at night, he would carry it on 𝗃𝗲𝗃𝗃 on their platform. He would carry it live every night when I have my Facebook Live. So I know him quite well. I know he's a young man, 21 years of age, I believe that's his age. But he's very action oriented and very motivated, as the case may be, which could be a positive thing or a negative thing depending on who is attempting to motivate you. All right. So after saying all of that, therefore I had stayed away from commenting on his situation because the fact that I knew him in respect to my television program, and in fact in respect that I know him in terms of my Facebook situation. So I know he's extremely anti-PNM. Now they don't carry my Facebook again on my Facebook post again, based on the fact that it was a big misunderstanding and had this co-founder, a lady called Ms. 𝗵𝗶𝘆. So because of that breakup, I was a little too much for me, and I pulled away from that 2 months ago. All right, after saying all of that, let me say this. At the end of the day, it is a person's fundamental right to protest, to take action. I have had several one-man protests and also protests I called people to come. There was a time I called people in 2013, of 2014, I called people to come and surround the Treasury and let's hold hands and pray because of corruption. And couple of hundreds came out. We held hands and we surrounded the Treasury, holding hands, praying against corruption, things of that nature. So I'm accustomed to protest. I've had one-man protests where all political parties are concerned, including my own. So protest is something to which I support. However, this being our country being under a state of emergency, where a number of your rights have been removed, I felt it's not the best. It was not time. It wasn't proper in terms of, well, let me say it, in terms of the fact that he came out the day before and did a protest and really had a total ding-dong situation with the police. So remember, you have to take it from the fact that he came on the day before and had actually had a protest in front of the parliament calling for who to go and calling for them to go. So that was an actual protest. The next day, he decided to do a march from his home in Movant to deliver a letter to Gary. Of course, he could bypass the Red House, but he chose to pass by the Red House. As the case would be, of course, police have already known his face and knowing that gather application with him before, probably was ready or prepared or what have you. And I would have, if I was a police officer, I would have probably would have just cautioned him and tell him to proceed quickly, as he case me. But I'm reading is that when this observing person's mask was down, when he came up to close he put up his mask. So they actually charged him or arrested him for not wearing masks in public. As the case, because you know we have a mask law that's present. So I think that's what he was arrested for, not wearing masks. That's the last information I had as the case. But I said probably if I was a police officer, I'd have given a warning in terms of proceed accordingly. That's as far as I would go with that.
Well, we appreciate your comment on that, right? And just to segue from that, Mr. Philip Edward Alexander did exactly the same thing that David Welch did, and the handling of Mr. Philip Alexander, right? Philip Edward Alexander was totally different than how they handled a little black boy from Movant.
No, Philip Alexander had interviewed the commissioner the very morning before he went into the protest, or the day before. Interviewed the commissioner on his Facebook Live program, and the commissioner told him to go ahead. He actually spoke with the commissioner live. The commissioner told him to go ahead and do his protest, as the case be. That was live on the air. I listened. I was watching. I myself. I saw the commissioner tell him to go ahead. You have no problem with that. As the case, just conduct yourself in such a way. But if you attract, if you bring other people with you, then it is a public protest. As the case, the one-man protest, the commissioner said he had no difficulty with it. But if you bring other persons, so Philip Alexander told other persons not to come, don't support him. He alone to go and do everything by himself. He wants to obey the law, and he went out by himself. And he carried about. I don't think he was shouting and things like that. I think he just walked around, what have you. Yes, I understand the difference in the treatment, but David, who was extremely vocal and the day before and loud in his protest in terms of bawling for who to go and who not to go, I think Philip's protest was a bit different. But again, he had the approval of the commissioner, though verbally, but I listened to it myself.
All right. You know, Avi, I don't think we gonna go down that road with because I believe that what happened there, it showed black people in Trinidad what we talk about in America, you're called white privilege. And if black people in Trinidad don't understand what white privilege is, and Philip Edward Alexander proved to the black people of Trinidad and Tobago what white privilege look like. I fully understand, and I'm saying me now, I fully understand what white privilege is. So what I'm hearing is that because you can talk to the COP, I don't think a little black boy from Mova could pick up the phone and call the COP, right? But however, another guy who don't live in the urban communities can pick up the phone and call the COP, and the COP say, go ahead now, man, you good. But the little black boy from Mova, right? And it is right. I could raise my voice. Raising my voice is not against the law. That's not against the law, but I don't really want to go down that road because we're going down a different road, and I don't think it's fair to you, you know, for me to bring you here and for us to have that discussion. So you think that's fair enough?
Well, but again, I've always expressed my concern in respect to those types of situations. But I've always expressed my concern in respect to the plight of the program I repeat on television was a call and a fight for and the African consciousness, the black consciousness situation. My yesterday program, I dealt with the origin of mankind, and that everything came from a certain from particular grouping. So I am very, 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 very much involved with that discussion, and I've been doing that for the longest while. I formed a committee called the Against African Suppression and Oppression, and things like that. I've been working along those lines, and I'm extremely concerned with those things. But of course, I'm one who believes in equality. I'm one who believes in for all persons must be treated fairly. I truly believe that Black Lives Matter, and on the extension, I believe that all lives matter. But I understand but the history of what happened to Black people. I understand the American situation in particular as to how Black people have been treated, and the fact that they have been less free or free for a shorter period of time than we who are in the Caribbean, whose ancestors have been free even before the Americans, and even before certain parts of America, which was sometimes the southern part, which took time. and other things. All they went through the Jim Crow situation, all of that, I understand that. But here, the treatment is sometimes meted out differently as to the black person as against the non-black person.
Harvey, I don't mean to stop you. Is meted out unfairly sometimes?
Sometimes, yes, because there's also a situation of class. Remember, if you're black and you're in the upper class, your treatment is always the same as this is a reality. I live here. This is a reality of our circumstances. But you just spoke about the average black boy. I'm saying, so therefore there's a different treatment where a black person who is powerful or who has financial clout, as the case may be, because we have also here, as you know, a class structure.
There are plenty black people in Trinidad that are clout.
Clout?
Just asking. Just asking. Just asking.
I have a question for Mr. Boris.
Good.
Mr. Boris, this is Miss Benskin. How are you doing?
Fine, thank you. Fine, thank you. Yes, I know the question you want to answer. You want to ask me how I became this handsome. I was born this way, and let me be serious. Go ahead.
Not at all.
I mean, we like that, man. We okay, man. We're not coming to the village. That's fine, man. We like that. We like that. That's why we just keep it here. We keep it real. You know what I mean?
No, I was sticking on the same Mr. Welch issue. Now, I was reading. I'm an author and a poet and blah, blah, blah. I read a lot. And I came across some material where the United Nations Human Rights urge countries to avoid overreach of security measures in their response to the coronavirus. And they recalled the SOE powers and said that they should not be used to squash dissent. Now, Miss, you stated that Mr. Welch is very anti-PNM. And he's a young African lad, and the area in which he lives is historically votes PNM. Now, with the pandemic and the conditions people are under right now, and etc., is the PNM concerned at all that they may just lose these voters?
I cannot speak I can't speak officially here for the PNM because I'm not representing the PNM. I'm here representing myself in terms of the request I was made or given by of course the greatest Wall Street there is.
Thank you, Harvey.
I'm here to speak on my own behalf. There is that concern in terms of the loss of support and loss of voting support. As you're aware, the PNM always well controls a few seats, but the seats that I think they have never lost is 3 of them: Laventille East, Laventille West, where he's from Laventille East. Laventille East, Laventille West, and also I think either Point Fortin, San Fernando West, whichever one it is. They have never lost. But the PNM stronghold areas are always up for toss, because you must understand African people, I shouldn't say volatile, but somewhat they are moved based on what they think is the best at this point in time, as against the UNC base that is totally committed against all odds in terms of the support situation. They have never lost about 12 seats in this country, never ever lost them. Whereas the PNM have lost nearly all of their stronghold seats and all of their seats, and which are not even stronghold again, based on people's lack of interest. People felt that they were not treated best, felt that there was a lack of adequate intervention into their communities, and a number of other reasons. So therefore, yes, it should be a concern to the PNM in terms of because remember, the opposition is continuing attempting to make inroads in PNM strongholds, and based on the fact that you know of the disunity in the African community, because let's face the reality, the PNM is not an African party, and has never been. The PNM has a large African base support, as the case may be the largest base support. When Eric Williams came and said, "I will put my bucket down in Woodford Square the Africans to a great extent followed the doc. The Indians already in 1956 already had their own political formation. In particular the Hindu opposition had a political formation. So when Eric Williams formed the PNM, he was able to gather the support of the Africans and also of the Muslim Indians to some extent. Came and supported the PNM. So therefore, it is that concern, and the PNM through those years have continued to support African people by large, in larger quantity, have continued to support the PNM. And sometimes they feel neglected. Places like Laventille feel that the development trust has not been up to the standard of that ought to be. And those are some of the concerns that has been expressed by PNM people. So yes, to answer your question shortly and directly, it should concern them that it could tend to lose more of the support, in particular the youth support. He being a young person, because sometimes the youth support is not looking at all the mitigating circumstances, but that's the reality of what they're seeing in front of them.
Avi, let me ask you a question. Is the UNC an Indian party?
The UNC is absolutely Indian, Hindu-based party. So it's a mixture of two things. It is really a Hindu from its inception. Remember, the UNC is the original DLP. What has happened? They have had different incarnation, different name changes, but it's the same basic infrastructure in terms of persons and who have supported the same. That is the same seen as the same opposition. So it is basically their footing all the years, because they came directly out of the belly of the Hindu person of Indo descent, and of course coming with the support of people like Maharsa and so on.
Why are black people afraid to say that the PNM is a black party? Why are black people in Trinidad and Tobago, the black people in the PNM, afraid to say that the PNM is a black party?
And I'm very clear about my point is opposite to yours. I have said that the PNM is absolutely, it has majority Afro or black base. But
that's make it a black party, Harvey. If you have a football team, right? And the football, all right, for example, look at the France football team when it used to be before, right? The France football team used to be predominantly white French on the France football team. Now the football team is predominantly black, right? So France football team is predominantly black people. It's a black football team. They represented French, but most of them are black. I don't understand why the Indians will say it's okay. What's wrong with if you are a black party? What's wrong with that? Your support comes from the black communities in Trinidad and Tobago.
Yeah, I'm saying the support is that, for instance, the support black in the majority of the Republican Party, not the majority of support the Democratic Party. You can't say the Democratic Party is a black party. Even again, you might say it's less in terms of the numbers and what have you, but the vast majority of black people in America support the overwhelming vast majority, like 90% or more, support the Democratic Party. You can't say it's a black party. And I'm saying to you, in my view now, let us agree to disagree and move on from this.
No, that's fine.
Witness was there. There were in the formation of the party. There were East Indian, Kamal Muhammad, Errol Mahabir, as the case may. There were Caucasian, who were there. One who went away. So there was a mixture of persons who formed the initial party. There were a mixture of persons that formed the initial party. So on that basis, it was never formed because, as a matter of fact, the first meetings was held by Kamaluddin at Kamaluddin Muhammad Place on Queen Street. So the party never was formed, but it had, because the Africans had no political base support, so they followed the PNM party. And I'm saying categorically, the vast majority of Africans would prefer to support the PNM, but from that point of view.
So Harvey, let me say this. So, all right, you want most of the black people in Trinidad and Tobago support your
I think I
party.
lost your mic here.
Oh no, we still hearing you. Are you hearing us? Are you hearing us, Harvey?
On mute.
Maybe you muted it. Oh, your mic is mute. Let me unmute it. Here we go. Here we go. Yeah, we hearing you now. You're mute. Your mic was mute.
Sorry.
Right? I mean, Harvey, I don't understand. I am here in the United States of America, and we look at things from a global perspective, right? And when I hear that the predominantly people in Trinidad and Tobago are black who vote for the PNM, and them same people you telling them that, listen, there's Indian people that also vote for the PNM, and there's also Indian people that vote for the UNC, but the UNC is predominantly an Indian party, right? But it seemed to me that somehow you guys are afraid if you say we're a black party, I don't know what will happen. Like if something will happen to the PNM.
Answer.
Yeah.
Oops.
This you cannot promote this kind of ideology in Trinidad, even though it has been happening on the ground. You can't. They cannot. We are a multiracial, multicultural people. You cannot say this is a black party and Indian people. One party may have a majority of a certain race, but what took place in the last election was a more race-based. The issues wasn't what happened in the country. You know, it was more race-based conversation.
But Gary, you see, that is the problem. I am being honest.
Even though there was discrimination in the country, right?
But Gary, I am being honest. I am being honest. If people are honest with themselves, if they are honest, the Republican Party in this country is a white party. The Republicans are for the white people in this country.
Yeah, but
and the Republicans don't. But you don't hear the Republicans denying. You don't hear the Republicans and saying that, hey, we not this.
Okay, gentlemen, we move. Let's move along from that.
No. We can talk about it. That's okay. No. We can talk about it. We can talk about it. That's okay.
What I'm saying to you is here. We have to eliminate promoting this kind of a talk where there's a black.
No, but Gary, we're not promoting a talk. It's facts. Look at the statistics.
All right,
look at the statistics. It's not promoting anything. It is a fact.
It's African support, not black, because they have black Indians in Trinidad too. So
but Gary, yes, but you see, Gary, this is the thing, right?
Right.
If we are going to speak truth to power, who predominantly votes for the PNM?
Well, we have seen a lot of Indians vote for the PNM. You don't know.
No, I'm asking a simple question. Who predominantly votes for the PNM?
Let's draw this last election for recently. With this last election.
Then I bring Harvey back in.
Dr. Rowley promoted himself as being a proud black man. He spun what Mrs. Bisesa said of being black into black. Everything was turned into a racial thing within the last week of the election. What their mismanagement and what they were doing to stranded citizens and everything else was irrelevant. Race became the hottest issue because they see the leader as an
But Gary, race was on both sides of the fence. Race wasn't isolated to the PNM or the UNC. Both of them.
Not promoting race.
Oh no, Gary, come on. All right. Anyway, look, we have Harvey Boris back. Harvey, welcome back, man.
Thank you.
I think TSTT must be messed with your phone. Not be mobile or digital, you know. Harvey, but you know something? Anytime we are important people here in the village with us, something does go wrong with the phone, you know. I'm telling you the truth, we had 𝗧𝗂𝗀𝗁𝗧𝗂𝗏 on here, and all of a sudden, we're sending all kind of message to your phone, you know. Right?
I can't see.
So, no, I'm just saying. You see what it is, I have to tell people, listen, we can say whatever we want to say. The numbers, all I go by the numbers. The numbers do not lie. In this country, white people predominantly vote for the Republican Party. You can't deny that. And black people predominantly vote for the Democratic Party. That's speaking truth to power. Right? I think when Donald Trump was the first person to cross 10% of the black votes in this country, right? So we have to speak truth to power. We could want to twist it and put icing on the cake. You know, sometimes you have a cake and the cake could be yellow or green or whatever it is. And you put icing on the cake and, you know, you kind of change it up. You don't know what it look like. But facts is facts. You can't twist facts. Then you really get back to Harvey.
Why they vote for why they vote Democrats? It's because the Democrats have provided the level of services to uplift these people in their need. Democrats did that. The Republicans didn't fight for that. All the medical services, all the social welfare that we have in this country to assist people, is the Democrats put that on the table?
Correct.
You know why, Gary? You know why? Republicans don't care about that.
Nope.
That doesn't serve their constituents.
Big business.
What I'm saying, so look what's happening.
Big business,
right? What happened in Trinidad? Majority of people voted. Majority of Afro-Trinis mobilized to vote against UNC based on race and not on issues and what can be done for the country.
All right, so Gary, hold that thought, right? Let me get back. All right, yeah. Have you on the phone? Go ahead. So you see, Gary, until we get away from race, right? We will continue down the same line, right? And it takes the politicians in Trinidad, right, to get rid of that race-based politics. We can talk till the cows come home to roost until they decide not to do that. No. It's gonna continue along the same line.
Well, what we have to do is we have to point these things out. We have to point these things out.
Yeah, but I agree with you. Let me get Harvey Boris back in here. Harvey, you back? I think you're mute. Let me unmute your mic, Harvey.
Oops. What you do, Aunt?
Oh. Harvey, you back? Unmute your mic. You hearing us, Harvey?
Keep it in the camera.
Yeah.
Can I
Tommy?
You know, I don't know if Mr. Boris.
That Trinidad or Tobago people that they're hijacking them.
Okay.
Are you from Trinidad, though?
Mr. Boris, can you hear me?
No, you can't hear you. You might mute. Oh God, boy. We get the second PNM going to do the same thing, boy.
Mr. Boris.
Remember, say things out in the village, boy. Yep. Let me see
if unmute his mic. Unmute his mic,
man.
No, I can't mute his mic. They mute themselves.
Then take him out and bring him back in again. Let me
do that. Let me remove him and let him come back in. All right. Then he will come back in. So folks, it's very simple. I think the thing very simple, right?
You know, Morgan Job had a book that he sold to me at the airport called Race to the Polls. Right. Or race to the polls, which clearly defined how people in Trinidad vote.
But Tommy, what was promoted in the last couple of weeks of the election was more race-based issues and propaganda than what diverting from what the real issues was happening in the country. All the chaos caused by Dr. Rowley administration for people to go out and work and hungry way before this COVID, that wasn't the issue, you know. That was the issue, and they cover up the fact about the stranded system, which all of you guys know, and how they're not supporting them, and they throw out a few little crumbs, and then they discriminate who get it, and they, in a half-hearted way, they did this job. I mean, I have all the evidence in my possession.
Well, we are all in agreement that they bundled up the stranded citizens issue that was grossly mismanaged. There's absolutely no question in our minds about that.
And so see if they get them there now.
Yeah, again back. Avi, can you hear us? You have to unmute your mic.
Tell him to press it, touch the microphone, and it will.
Oh, yeah, I'm trying to tell him. Unmute your mic, Avi. I don't understand how this thing does just happen all the time, just so, no?
Especially with special people in Tobago.
He's in Trinidad.
Avi, here we go.
Yes.
Are you hearing me?
Yeah, we hear you know. Loud and clear, man.
Mr. Boris.
Something is coming in, and then it cuts off my mic, so I had to put in the cordless mic.
Yeah, I tell you, we getting plenty trouble in the village from Trinidad,
Mr. Boris. Mr. Boris, this is Tommy. And let me start by saying I truly love my country. You will notice my avatar is the flag. Anyways,
very good.
Yeah, but
Very good.
you
And that
know,
love of country is important. Go ahead, sir.
extremely important, and that's why it brings me to this. That my observation is that there has been and continues to be, regardless of who is in political power, a gross abuse of power in Trinidad and Tobago. When and how should we deal with sorting this out? It's on the part
Abuse
of
of
both. It's both on the part of law enforcement and some of our elected officials.
All right. Well, I cannot say with all sincerity that I see that in terms of, I see that sometimes with the police service in terms of how they would handle um, um, the, how they refer to them, the black miscreants, and which is ridiculous.
You know the cockroaches. You could call them cockroaches.
I don't want to use
that comes
word.
Straight from the top.
But I'm saying, sometimes I can see that, but in terms of the political abuse by the present government, I feel that I have not seen that in any kind of, unless you can identify to me in any serious way. So remember, our constitution gives our government probably even more power than the president of America in terms of the running of America. Our government and might be construed as abuse of power, but a prime minister in this country and a government in this country has I almost said extreme power, but have very they are very powerful in terms of implementation of the case. But if you can point out to me a particular area to which you can see abuse, I'm not talking about
Avi, you living in Trinidad. Avi, they went up in Nova, right? And you remember them 3 black kids that get killed?
That's what I said. If apart from the police situation,
no,
that is abuse.
Can I chime in?
Go ahead.
No, you prefer government.
Harvey,
sorry,
Mr. Boris. For example, with this, look, we're dealing with this COVID situation as it is right now.
Yeah.
Let's talk about how it was managed and handled in a very abusive manner. The exemption situation turned out to be a grossly abused. It was a disaster if you want to put it frankly.
I'll take it.
Well, are you there? Are you there?
Go ahead, my lady. She's going to take the question.
Because you're breaking up, Tommy.
No, let Tommy finish now. Tommy, go ahead. Finish your question.
Yes, what I was saying is that the way that this COVID is being managed, it's being managed in an abusive way. Because when we hear of some of the abuse meted out of some of our stranded citizens, there has to be a better way to do this. That was not explored. Instead, it was done haphazardly.
Well, I think honestly that could have been managed better. I truly believe that could have been managed much better. I truly believe that. But I know for a fact the attempt was to ensure that our situation of in and out was handled and was managed. But again, to me, it left much bizarre. Now, in the early days of this pandemic, I thought the government did a reasonably good job in terms of keeping us safe from that point of view. Apart from, which I've complained about in all media, I've complained about it, apart from the porous borders, where people were literally walking through. You had a situation where a boat with 10 or 15 dead bodies literally drifted into the country. Not spotted by any authority. With 15 or 10 to 15 dead bodies in it. And when the fishermen found the boat and called for the authorities or the Coast Guard, they said they have no nothing to respond, no equipment to respond, and therefore they asked the fishermen to tow it in. As the case of that, because you how terrible the situation is from that point of view. So I want to agree with you. I think that that should be handled a little more, much better, in terms of ensuring. But then again, we also get some stories that is not. For instance, there's a story last week of a guy who died, a stranded guy who died. That was all over the media of this stranded guy who died. I think he was 30-something years of age or something like that. Who died. And his family, some of his family reached out to me and told me that's not the case. He was never stranded. He was up there for treatment. He was taking treatment for his ailment, as the case may be, and he died in the process. And he did not die from COVID-19. He died from that which he was up there getting treatment for, because they said his funeral was, forgive my pronunciation of that word, my Thai tongue. It was an open casket situation, and so therefore you also have that. The negatives that flow that has nothing to do with the reality, because there are some who want to make the government look as even worse than it ought to be, and there are those who try to cover up even the wrong thing that's happening. So I try to look for the balance in between to see what is right and what is wrong, and stand with what and stand for that which is right at the end of the day.
Mr. Boris, Mr. Boris, I have a question. Right? And this is fact. I don't know about the young man. This is fact. I, Diana Benskin, today assisted a family of 8, where the woman in the household is the sole breadwinner in the security services. She said she reached out to her MP. Nobody got back to her. Several occasions. Twice she was quarantined because she became ill. So there's 2 young children in the home, and they were going hungry. I think the lights cut off now. She reached out to me on social media because I put out a live. I was, I'm hurting. I have assisted several nationals. I don't even want to, toot my horn. But today, with the help of someone on the ground, why is it that the Ministry of Social Services, these people are falling through the cracks? Why is it they're not getting the grants in a timely manner to assist them so they don't go hungry? Children going hungry, Mr. Boris. Do you understand that? Someone reached out to me from Tobago. The little child is getting gas pains. I can't go in my bed and lay down and sleep knowing a little child is getting gas pain, and the person reached out to me for help. Now, this is factual. How can the PNM, because you guys are in power, get this situation, get it fixed, so people, your citizens, don't have to feel hungry and frustrated anymore?
Bear one thing in mind. I am not here representing the PNM nor the government. I'm here as Harvey Boris, an activist, a soldier on the ground, as the case may be, and also probably in my capacity as the chairman of the Center for Justice. Similarly to you, a number of persons have contacted me at the Center for Justice, and we have helped, over the years, we have helped literally thousands of persons in our country, because we have been in existence for the last 27 years. But at the end of the day, yes, there are persons who are going through a difficult time. Yes, the Ministry of Social Services need to step up its game to ensure that they have timely assistance to persons who are truly suffering, because people are truly suffering in this country. There are those who really need the help, and of course, there are those who are, as the minister said, which is the truth. There are those who are double dipping. There are those who are literally hoarding hampers from hamper side to hamper side, making it literally into a business. So all of those things are on the ground. But you're right, there are those who truly need the help, and the help is not forthcoming on a timely basis. The ministry and the government need to ensure that they put things in place to remedy those things, to ensure they have, now is the time to even give employment and to have more foot soldiers going out. You have a request from Tom in Baratawa, from Mary in Arima. You have your officers who will go out and actually go into an immediate investigation and come back with a report, and therefore that money can be disbursed because you have that type of information, as the case may be. Of course, these officers should be made to swear an oath of truth or whatever. So if they do something accordingly, they then they can be held accountable. But I'm agreeing with you. It ought to be improved, and I'm hoping that it has. Many people have gotten help on a timely basis. We don't ever hear the stories of those who get help on a timely basis. So I know for a fact many persons have gotten help on a timely basis. But yes, there are some who do not get, and that is that we need to ensure that nobody falls through the crack and nobody is left behind. So I understand and I see your point.
Harvey, I look at the way things are going, and Harvey, I'm a supporter of the PNM, right?
Definitely.
I mean, everybody know that. I don't support what this regime is doing, though. I don't support what this regime is doing. And there are so many things, Harvey, and you wanted to give some examples. For example, Harvey, the lowest paid workers in Trinidad and Tobago is CPEP workers. Some of them making $700 a fortnight, right? You cut their salaries, right? People need vaccine. You had a vaccine plan that was a total disaster. We have been saying here now for months, let people who are fully vaccinated, let exile and stranded citizens who are fully vaccinated come back to Trinidad, right? They take months before they figure that out. They now figure it out 3 or 4 months later. By that time, it's all them people losing their family left, right, and center. There is so many different things, Harvey, that has happened during this pandemic, right? And look at the next one, all right? I know there are perks for all ministers, right? And that's acceptable. I don't have a problem with ministers having perks. That's part of the process. When you become a minister, you get perks. The time now is not right for you to go and buy a Mercedes Benz. In addition to that, the time is not right for the Minister of Social Development to call people greedy. The time is just not right. You have to be very careful in your language. You are a minister. Listen, even though the people are greedy, even though they are double dipping, triple dipping, 𝗲𝗲 dipping, 𝗲𝗲 dipping, right? They're hungry.
Be careful with the 𝗲𝗲. It sounds a little close.
Yeah. 𝗲𝗲. Remember 𝗲𝗲 dipping, right? Why are you calling them greedy? And the sad thing, Harvey, the people in the go along, get along, PNM gang, defending that. And you defend it, though. You defend that too?
Let me say what I will defend and what I will not defend.
No, but did you defend that?
He's answering.
Defend what? Which
the greedy. When he said greedy, that was the right thing for the right words for to use.
No, I never defend as the right word for to use. But I did say, however, that the statement was not inaccurate. It was the wrong timing. But I made it clear that the statement was not an inaccurate statement, but it probably was not the right timing. Just like the same thing with the Mercedes Benz. No, it's not the right time. You know what I'm saying? Ministers have the perks that they're entitled to.
Correct.
Now is not the right time when the people are suffering and can barely make ends meet. As a matter of fact, I asked the question that possibly a percentage of people's salary should be they could consider given to the public a part of the salary or reducing the salary for temporarily as a show of to empathize with what's going on and to show that there's that. So I'm agreeing with that. You ought not to buy a Mercedes Benz at this point in time. That to me is really in poor taste and not understanding what's going on the ground. Not because you have something available to you that you have to use it at any given point in time. Now is not the right point in time. I agree with that 100%. In respect to the, let's make it.
Yep.
Sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
In respect to the debts, let me say this: the debts in this country, to me, is atrocious. Atrocious. To every single day, we have a average of about 11 deaths a day, something like that, happening in this country. To me, it is ridiculous. So I wonder if we are trying all the cocktails as possible, in respect to whatever is out there in the market. I have seen on my television program this guy from South Africa who has this thing where he's taking out the mucus from your system. This African doctor in South Africa, and they said up to now not one of his patients have died. And I believe it's about saving lives. So therefore, I'm very concerned with this whole situation, this whole scenario, in respect to the amount of persons who are dying at this point in time. I feel something is wrong. There's too much that, yes, they say we're also very unhealthy, in Trinidad and Tobago, but something is wrong. Too many persons. I know real countless people who have passed, and I'm hoping that those figures. Today we are 300 and something more infection, where we were having 100 for the last couple of days. Where the figures are coming down. It just kick up today to 3 something in the today. So I am concerned about that. As the case may be. So yes, there is some things that concern me very much so, and I speak out about it, and that's why probably I might be the
Senator Nomo. Abby, somebody, we have questions in the chat. Let me go quickly because we're going to the top of the hour. Someone says, I'm feeling sorry for Mr. Boris. He cannot speak out for fear of victimization as he's in the lion's mouth. What do you say about that?
Fear of victimization. That to me is that statement to me is absolutely ridiculous. I've always spoken my truth. I've always spoken, and probably that's why I might reach too far in the politics, because I've always spoken as I see it to be. I've always spoken it about Laventille, that Laventille should be developed much at a much faster rate.
Harvey, when you talk about that, I want to come on your program and talk about that, Harvey, because Harvey, to be honest with you, I really believe the PNL really don't care about Laventille, and the reason why they don't care, because they know when the election come, they go get them people vote.
Let's go. Just today, self. I didn't do a live show. I did a repeat show. Just pull up after this program. Pull up my program today, which is the gosh, I'm not sure if it was on Facebook, but anyhow, it is the Hot Seat 868, the Hot Seat 868, and look at May the 14th show. May the 14th, I showed back that today. Look at May the 14th show. Look at it, and you'll see. I had this boy with me, who was a former UNC senator. He's the one who helped to fight to get the Baptist holiday. What's his name again? Oh my God. And he was in the program with me, and the whole program was basically about the black concern and about sometimes when we get in power, we forget who put us there. We forget who opened doors for us. And the development, I have been fighting for the development of Laventille all my life, sir. If you think you have fought for Laventille, sir, it doesn't come close to the fight which I put up.
No, I don't disagree with that, Harvey. I think you outfight me for Laventille. I know what to say. Right? But Harvey, another person said, let Mr. Boris know the in the village is about truth. When we come in the village, I don't know, maybe it was they think they might have been I don't know.
If there's anything I've said, one thing I'm prepared to I'm prepared for correction. If there's anything I said that they felt that is not true, please ask them to identify it and let me respond to it further. But I grew up as Seventh-day Adventist. I'm not the best of Adventists, but I've maintained some principles. In my entire life in politics, which is most of my life, my adult life, I have never, ever, by the grace of God, taken a bribe, nor given a bribe. I have never, ever, in my government office, tell a young lady, let me remove your underwear in order for me to help you to get something. In other words, I've not taken advantage of my position to advantage persons, because I believe that is really atrocious. That's really ridiculous. That's really horrible. Especially when you're given the public person, the public trust, you must, to me, and that's where the little principles I learned from my mother, who was a very devoted Seventh-day Adventist, a religious person. I maintain some of those basic principles. So that's why I say politicians do not have to steal. Politicians don't have to rob or take material, or take the
top of the hour.
Harvey, just give us a minute. We got to go for a quick station identification. It's in the village with the DAG Triplets on WZYE 95.9 FM. And Harvey, you are not just on social media, but we are also live on 95.9 FM here in New Jersey. So, this might be your maiden voyage on international radio, but, we welcome you. So let's go for a quick station identification. Stick and stay, don't go nowhere. We'll be right back.
You're listening to WZYE 95.9 FM. You are listening to WZYE 95.9 FM, the most influential name in Caribbean radio in the tri-state area. Broadcasting from East Orange, New Jersey, the most influential name in Caribbean radio, WZYE 95.9 FM.
And of course, we are back with you. It's in the village with the DAG Triplets on WZYE 95.9 FM. We have with us Mr. Harvey. Is it Boris?
Yes, Harvey Boris.
Oh, good. I remember that, boy. Harvey Boris, boy. I remember the days when they used to be on Power 1 and 2, boy. And, you know,
Correct.
I mean, we go way back, man. I remember that.
But justice program. As a matter of fact, let me say this. When I left Trinidad to take up my diplomatic assignment in 2003, I caused the station to hire persons who are now top media persons in terms of talk radio. I put in Darren Marcel I brought in Darren Marcel. I brought in Richard Norrie. I brought in Foster Cummins. He was there for 9 months. Through me, Foster Cummins came in. Brenda Stevens came in through me. So a number of persons came in through me, ensuring that they were there. And if I can just add this now, as you talk with me in New Jersey, let me say hello to the people of New Jersey and our nations there. I was up there and with Professor Francis. I was up there some time ago to receive a humanitarian award at the on the Broadwalk, that hotel on the Broadwalk, on the Broadwalk there. I got a international humanitarian award that for the work that I've done had done in Trinidad and Tobago, and humanitarian work in Trinidad and Tobago. And that's the first time in my life I've ever received an award of that nature. I was recommended by Professor Francis to receive that award, and I was handed the award by this guy White. What's his name? White. He's this big karate actor, Michael White, Michael J. White, Michael White.
Yeah, I'm not sure his name.
Strong fellow, big strong fellow. Do a lot of martial art martial arts picture. So I was actually handed the award by him. It was a great experience for me coming there and to receive that award in New Jersey. And that's as you spoke about. We are also live in New Jersey.
Thank you so much, Harvey. So Harvey, we ask everybody that comes into the village this question. All right, we ask you, if you had to send a message to the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, Dr. 𝗧𝗂𝗏𝘆, what would be your message to the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago?
The same message I had given to the former Prime Minister in terms of the PNM government, which was Patrick Augustus Mervyn Manning. And I would give him the same thing. Please, when you get in power, or when you're in power, don't lose sight of the micro and focus on the macro. I don't know if you understand what I just said.
No, I understand. I mean, you know, you could expatiate on it a little bit more, but you know.
All right, let me do so. Sometimes when we get into power, we tend to forget, as I said before, who put us there, and we tend to, and that's what after myself and Darren Marcel had a meeting with Patrick Manning, and one of the things that came out of us was the CPF program and other programs in terms of trying to help to give a little more cushion in and the small business and revamping the small business situation. So he had assured us if we get back in power, which was in 1996, 95, 96, when we got back into power. Sorry, if we got back in power which was in 2000, he lost power in 1995. That he would be more focused on the micro as against just the macro, which is to build the waterfront and to build these macro projects and things like that. And sometimes when we become minister or prime minister, we tend to focus on the macro, on the big national projects, as the case of the country, which is nothing's wrong with that. Sorry, my apology. But sometimes we tend to lose sight of the micro. And the same thing, when we get into power, we'll take a call from Mr. Big so-and-so, and a person who may have worked with us on the ground, going door to us on the ground, sweating, grassroots, sweating, trying their best to make sure, because they love the party and they love the government, and that person can't even get a call and things like that. So that has been my emphasis. That has been my focus. Do not lose sight of the micro. Don't lose sight of those who need that touch to give them that opportunity to open doors, as the case might be. Don't lose sight of that.
So Harvey, I want to thank you for, I sent you the message and you willingly come on without a problem. All right, we have been having difficulties getting any minister from the PNM to come on this program. I don't know. They say I've gone UNC now. That's what they say. Nobody can prove that. But I have $100,000 TT on the table. If any PNM person can prove that I've gone UNC, I'll donate $100,000 TT to a charity of their choice. That's a lot of money in this Gova season, right, Harvey?
You can donate it to Center for Justice, and I
want all the PNM supporters who say I'm going UNC. I want them to do something for the money. You can't just do it just so. I will donate 100,000 TT to a charity of their choice that they can prove that I'm at UNC. All right, Harvey. So I want you next.
Sorry, let me give a quick example. I have been Center for Justice 27 years. We have helped hundreds, if not thousands, of persons over the years. And real persons who are PNM supporters. We have helped persons of the UNC. We have helped persons across the board. It doesn't matter what race you are, what religion you are, what political affiliation you are. The Center for Justice for all persons. I have never, even though I've made several requests, and imagine I am so close in the politics, I've never gotten any funding from my organization from the authority or from any major business or from any major business. It has always been myself, my family, and a few other grassroots like myself who would help to pull things together to keep the Center for Justice going. 27 years now we're going. So that tells you something.
Yeah, Harvey, I want to say thank you so very kindly for joining us, and we'd definitely like to have you back sometime in the future. Any closing words before you go?
All I can say at the end of the day, we are going through the decade for people of African origin. 6 years have already gone under the PNM. One went under the UNC, because started under the UNC in terms of the decade, and we have about 3 to 4 more years to go. I'm hoping that this time is used to really for the advancement, development, and the upward momentum of the African community. Whereas I believe that all communities should be given opportunities. I believe based on the economic situation and because of the historical antecedents and what has happened with the African community, a special intervention is needed to ensure the African communities are given the opportunity to really put businesses within the communities to create that thing, to take away from us and to help us to remove from us. And this is something that's throughout the African community, throughout the world. Look at Africa. There's only fighting for each other as the case, and within the country, there's fighting, and no states can come together. I will conclude by saying this to you. It's about time Africans begin to remove the border lines. We are happy to fight on one another. If I join the UNC tomorrow, I shall become the most vocal. My voice shall be on top of everybody else. To defend the UNC and to a certain extent even the PNM. But you look at my Indian brothers and sisters, and you would not see them behaving like that in this vocal, sometimes even obnoxious way. We must learn that we cannot continue to be soldiers of the crumbs and protectors of the 𝗂𝗃𝗃. We must become movers and shakers of economic. We must become owners of property, owners of land. We must unite, because as we saw under the last dispensation between 2000 and 2015, we saw how persons were given the opportunity to achieve their goals. So that's one of my major concerns. And beyond that, I call upon African and Indian people to unite, because at the end of the day, we are indeed one people. African and Indians must unite in order to make this country stronger. And I'm hoping that we will never have a separation of Tobago from Trinidad. I'm hoping that this marriage that we have had over 100 years, I don't care who put it together. I don't care if it was a forced marriage. I don't care if it was a marriage of convenience, or was like in the Indian way, was an arranged marriage. At the end of the day, our marriage have lasted. And I believe we must stand together as a people. My brothers, my sisters, all of you on the program, I thank you for the opportunity. May God bless you all. And remember my word, I love my country.
I love my country too.
Harvey Boris, thank you so very kindly, man. We really appreciate you coming and joining us here in the village. Take care.
The privilege was mine. I thank you. May God bless you all.
All right, take care. All right. So, folks, here we have it. Folks, with all the questions inside it, we already have Marsha Walker sitting in the background. And we kind of pressed for time tonight because we have it. We have 4 guests tonight. You know, so we had to bring it down quick. Mrs. Marsha Walker, how are you doing this wonderful evening?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
Today we are fantastic, and we are happy. We're getting a lot of feedback. Hold on.
It's coming from you, my guy.
Coming from you, actually.
No, I don't have anything on. I don't have anything on.
Maybe Miss Walker.
Is there? Do you have a laptop or other phone anything on and close by?
I do actually have my laptop open.
Yeah. That's where we get new feedback from.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, we get a little feedback.
Oh my! But you better ask me hard questions, huh?
You could just turn off the radio station and you know you
No,
can have
there's no radio station or anything.
The
It's
volume.
the volume.
Turn on the volume.
Well, you could keep your laptop, but we thought you had the because we get enough feedback.
Let me turn my volume down here.
Yeah.
Is that better?
Let me see. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a little better. That's a little
right.
better. Yeah,
Okay.
Thank you so very kindly.
No problem at all.
We are so happy to have you, and you join us on short notice. I mean, there's so much things going on in Trinidad. We also have with us, you know, we are the DAG triplet. It's Diana, which is D, Anselm, which is A, and Gary, which is the G. And we have a fourth person. They call him the outside child, but the ladies in the chat call him the love child. So,
oh my, this sounds like a fun team.
Yeah. we have all kind of names here in the village, so we welcome you to come in the village. So I think Gary.
Yes. Gary? So Marsha is involved with David Welch.
So I can't hear you guys. Oh my gosh, I might have to turn it back. I can hear you, but I can't hear Gary now.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Are you hearing me now, Marsha?
Yes, I am. Okay.
Yeah, so I was saying I invited her based on her involvement with David Welch. And also Marsha was heavily involved with assisting me with the stranded citizens effort to get people home and assist them in whichever way they can. And she's also the former candidate who went up against Dr. Rowley in the Diego Martin West. So this beautiful candidate, lovely lady, should have won this election, and we have to ask Trinidad why. Anyway, in the meantime, we will focus on the issue at hand with what's taking place with our brother David Welch. And can you enlighten us of what's taking place and what's the plan of action?
All right. So actually, today, our lawyers actually served the commissioner of police with a pre-action protocol letter. And of course, we're asking the commissioner to revisit his stance on allowing the protests. But of course, none of this would have been necessary had the government not put a hold on our rights. You know, it would not have been, the commissioner would not have been put in such a position. You know, according to him, he's upholding the law. So the question is, what's the law? You know, and I mean, it's a real tragedy. It is a real tragedy. Of course, the UN has really strict guidelines on what are the pillars for a democracy, and the right of protest is one of them. So even without the state of emergency, we really need to grow up, because we still are in a culture where we do need to apply for the right to protest. And of course, we see in growing societies and first world societies, that's not the case, right? So for it to already have been bad, and now you're saying we have no right to protest, we question where our democracy is going. You've taken away a fundamental right of, you know, a democratic citizen.
Can I ask a question, ma'am? Can I ask a question, ma'am? This is Diana Benson.
Hello.
Good. Hello. I'm going to segue on what you said about the UN. The UN expert on, I like to read a lot, and I came across this. The UN expert on human rights urged countries to avoid overreach of security measures in their response to the coronavirus, and recall SOE emergency powers that should not be used to squash dissent.
Well, you said it.
Why then is Trinidad and Tobago not adhering to what the UN?
Not adhering to anything, because when you think about it, all right, let's go all the way back. World Health Organization said from the very get-go that lockdowns must be very temporary, they must be short-lived, and they must only be used as a last resort to very quickly contain. The first option was always supposed to be test, test, test. We failed to test. We were lost at any rankings for testing. So what did we do? We had a lockdown. We never ramped up testing to a sufficient, adequate level. So we stayed in a lockdown. When we opened back up, we didn't vaccinate. We didn't procure vaccines early enough. We didn't beg. We didn't seek the interest of vaccination. So what had to happen? We're back on lockdown. World Health Organization, the first thing they say is, do not underestimate what happens with a lockdown. The one thing a lockdown serves to do is make the poor poorer. That's the words of the World Health Organization. So we've ignored, and we continue, our government continues to say that they're following the experts. Well, I don't know who the experts are, because World Health Organization has also said that there's very little proof, there's very little evidence about outdoor spread. So they encourage going out for walks, because of course, this is a time where mental health is a real concern. And we are seeing the doctors talking about children, the obesity levels, the suicide rates, well, suicide ideation. You know, you're seeing all the doctors speaking out and saying, listen, there is absolutely no evidence for stopping us from going to the park. It is crazy. I have what is called a COVID baby, and she's never been in a park on a sliding and stuff like that. You know, we used to go into the savannah literally at 9 o'clock in the night. There's nobody around, and just let her run. Just let her run. That right has been taken away. That is crazy. What about the children who have no outside at all to go to? They are literally just inside a room. We saw a picture of a family that live in the most outrageous circumstances. Those children, I cannot imagine what is going on with them. I can't imagine the exhaustion of the parents. And WZYE has stated that 20% of our country lives on $5 a day. That's $1,000 a month. TT. That is crazy. And that was before COVID. People can't earn any money now. And $5 a day, $5 a day, 1,000 a month. I'm sure you could agree that that doesn't leave any room for savings to have been able to say, okay, we could rally on for 6 months or whatnot. So there, in fact, that was my basis of writing to the president. And I mean, we could talk about that. I don't know if y'all want to get straight into that or not. But yes, I did raise a lot of those. Please. I did raise a lot of those concerns with her. And I'm going to continue dialogue because I'm not pleased with her response. And of course, it was a generic response because every citizen that has written so far, they've received the exact same reply. And it's not a good enough reply. I'm very sorry. We are paying these people. And our leaders need to understand that while we have put them in leadership positions, it's a servant leadership. We pay you, and you must act in our interests. You must. And it's just unreal.
It also states in the United Nations that the function of the SOE should not be used as a cover for repressive action under the guise of protecting health, nor should it be used to silence the work of human rights defenders.
You're saying it. You know what? I'm so happy you're saying it. Because if I say it, they say that I'm anti-Rowley, I'm just opposing for opposing sake. But Gary knows me. If I don't agree with something, I'm quiet. But I no problem. If I'm on the fence, I still say quiet. If I'm not sure which side I agree with. But when you're wrong, you're wrong. And I'm going to speak up about it. And it's crazy. The issue with David Welch. First to begin, he asked for a motorcade. So even he thought he went through the process to think through this, to say, listen, we're not going to encourage any gathering. We're all going to be in our private vehicles. We are asking for a motorcade. That's what we're asking for. So you deny him the right to have a motorcade. There's absolutely nothing. There's no gathering. It's a motorcade. We are in our private vehicles protesting. You have said that you are not allowing that. That's insane. When he went to deliver, he wasn't protesting. On his way to deliver the letter, he was accosted by police. And if we pay attention to the video, now I don't want to speak too much on the actual incident because that's now a matter before the courts. But I mean, it's all there. And it's crazy that we have to go on live videos to make sure that we're protected. Where are we heading? Where is our democracy heading? And of course, I spoke out about that in my campaign. That was my full reason for stepping up. A lot of people do not understand this sacrifice. I mean, look at how I was introduced, right? I will forever be UNC candidate that went up against the sitting prime minister. That comes at a cost, at a great cost. The victimization that comes with that, most do not understand. So it has to be that I believed with every fiber of my being that we needed to stand, that we are at a place in our country's history that if we do not stand and fight, I mean, I'm talking about it and I'm getting goosebumps and my eyes are watering, because I wish that I wish that more people would really understand how far gone this is. And I mean, if they understand and they're still quiet, then heaven help us. I mean, I've said it. I am not jumping in a boat like my ancestors did. I'm not risking my children's lives to jump in a pirogue and hope to reach to America. There's no way I'm doing that. You know, this is our time to fight. We cannot fight when we're digging in garbages. We can't. You know, I've shown the country, you know, I mean, you look at graphs and you look at statistics and you look at history. Venezuela 10 years ago was richer than some American states. They were living the American dream 10 years ago, you know, and the writing is on the wall. You know, I had a lot of information. I try to drive information. So it's not just emotional. I mean, of course, people like to say women are emotional, but I believe in data, which of course we're yet to get from the Prime Minister. We've asked, put effects, negative effects, positive effects of the state of emergency. Put them on a graph together and let's see what outweighs which one. Yet to get more data. All we hear is they take the advice of experts. Well, which experts' advice are you taking? But again, that's why, and I'm a firm believer that the state of emergency had nothing to do with COVID. It had nothing to do with this pandemic. They knew that what they were doing would cause a public uprising, and they needed from the get-go to shut us up. They needed to shut us up. Which is why I've urged the public, at this point, we must protest. We will start. Because let me tell you something. I've already told my husband, when I go to protest, you're not coming, because I'm prepared to sit in jail. I'm prepared. All through Facebook today, I was posting people that sat in jail for our freedom. And I am prepared to lose my freedom so that my children, my grandchildren, and their grandchildren will have a country to call home, that we will not be foreigners in somebody else's land. It's that simple. So we're prepared to legally protest via pen in the beginning. But if you continue to respond to us with apathy, then I'm sorry, we're going to force your hand at some point. This is what a democracy is. And we urge our citizens to fight for that democratic right. Get up and fight with every fiber of your being.
Mrs. Walker, I applaud you. I applaud your efforts. And you should not be seen as the candidate that went up against Christopher Rowley. Who is he? He's a prime minister. He's also an MP. If it is in your capacity and you were performing your job, then you were performing your job.
Exactly.
And
then I would want to run against you. Then I would want to run against you. I grew up in his constituency. So I didn't just go up against him. I lived in his constituency. I grew up in his constituency.
And he's from Mason Hall. Let's not go there.
Let's not go there.
Anyway, so, you're doing your job. What is it who go up against Christopher Rowley? Who is he? He's the big bad draconian.
You talk about doing my job. You see this narrative that they've been trying to spin, that when we speak out, it's unpatriotic. The most loving thing I could do is speak out, because our country is heading down a cliff, and no person that loves our country will watch our country head down a cliff and leave it and say, it's okay, I love you, go hang yourself. And when you stay silent, that's what you're doing. So the least loving thing you can do for our country, stay silent and watch it fall off a cliff. This is for love of country. And as I said, I am not going on a boat. I'm sorry. I'm not putting my children on a pirogue to go to find a way to America. No way. My final refugee status.
Damn straight. I stand with you.
I as a Bajan, and if you want me come there, I can march with you too. I'm born in Trinidad, but I come in there and marching too. The Bajan will be right up front with you.
Now the call, I
gonna be right up front with you.
First, but we will do what we have to do to fight for our democracy. And honestly, again, they like to say that we're being unpatriotic, but if we have to take this all the way to the United Nations, we will. We will. This is our democratic right to have our voices heard. And they have absolutely no evidence. And you gave even more evidence today to what they're doing is totally against international policy. Totally.
Right here in the United Nations Charter tells you cannot use any SOE to squash dissent under the guy. And I often thought, what this SOE, is it a sword or is it a shield? Is it a sword or is it a shield
of what? And that's the whole thing. A shield of what?
A shield of what?
So it's both. It's both. It's a shield is shielding them, and it's a sword to us.
Shielding who? Shielding all the little underhand nonsense that they're doing. Yeah, exactly. Hey, they need to get up, stand up for their rights. Bob Marley sing it. Get up, stand up, go out there. I told them on my lives, everybody should write a letter, stand 12 feet apart, wear 2 masks, and go down there and deliver the letter. And let me see if they have enough police to arrest everybody.
And I've made it easy. I've given templates, even the reply, because now that we've received a reply to the Prime Minister from the President, I've written a response to her response. So I've made it easy. You just need to copy and paste my stuff. You don't need to figure out how to format the letter. You don't need to figure out the protocols. You don't need to figure out which constitutional right that the President has, because she has a right to be fully informed under the Section 81. She said it. She said, all I could do is be fully informed. Then be fully informed. Then go to the Prime Minister and say, I demand that you show me data. Take the data. And I laid it out in my response. I said, we want to see clearly the negative effects that the state of emergency is having. Get the Minister of Education to bring the data. How many children have dropped out of school? How many children are unable to access online education? Get the Children's Authority to bring the increase in child abuse. We were already having a problem with child abuse in Trinidad and Tobago. Could you imagine these children that are staying home? Could you imagine? Bring all that
domestic
data.
Violence. Domestic violence.
Of course. Bring all the data, bring the poverty, bring it all those negative effects of the state of emergency, and put it right next to whatever positive effects that you think you have. Bring the data and match it against a graph and prove. And that is what we're demanding of the President. Have a meeting with the Prime Minister and demand that he brings data to you and proves to you that this state of emergency is working. And then you take that information and you bring it back to us, because he won't answer us. But she has a constitutional right to be fully informed. And we are asking the President to exercise her constitutional right to be fully informed. That's the words that she used. She said, all I can do is be fully informed. Then go and be fully informed. Go be fully informed, Madam President. Go be fully informed. Get the data. Get the data. Get the data. We demand the data to show what are the negative effects of the state of emergency compared to the positive effects of the state of emergency. Put them next to each other and answer to the country. Give the country the transparency we deserve and give us our voice back. It's that simple. That's what we want. That is what we want.
I want to reiterate my suggestion that I'm asking people, I want you to suggest this on the ground, that they stand in front of their yard with their sign. They can't walk the street to protest. Every house that wants to show their voice, stand in front of your yard and hold up your sign, okay? Or light your candle in your yard.
I'm gonna do that tonight. I'm gonna do that tonight, and I'm gonna because I always say I'm not asking anybody to do anything that I am not prepared to do myself. So I'm gonna stand outside my house with my sign. Gary, you could do it all the way there too. Maybe all you guys could do it. You could tag me. You know, we can get a hashtag, whatever it is. We have to keep this going. I'm not going to let this die down. You know, we can't.
So, that's why I wanted you to come on here.
It's a really great suggestion, Gary, and I will definitely do it one time tonight.
I'll be doing a live, and we'll be standing in front of the yard.
Tag me on Facebook if you guys are on Facebook. And you know what? And I will share and support as much as I can. You know, we need to unite as much as we can. We need to unite.
Yeah, they tell them they can't stand in the yard with a sign.
Come outside your gate for now. And I'm prepared to do this in phases, You know, I always believe in giving you the benefit of the doubt and being as patient as I can. But the patience is running out. The money is running out. And when money runs out, the patience runs out. Is that simple?
Well, listen, people going hungry in our country. And if it's unpatriotic to stand up for people suffering, then I am prepared to be very unpatriotic. I was very unpatriotic to stand up for stranded citizens. And I drag Ansem and Diana in the fight too. I mean, I drag you on the ground there. The Prime Minister cursed you out for associating with me on the platform. But,
he did he?
Yeah. It is on video. He accused her of things that she wasn't involved. It's I who engaged her. She didn't engage me, you know.
Yeah.
And I brought everybody on both sides. You know?
Gary, I want to share a story about India. Let people go and research it. What is called the emergency era in India. How they they abused the constitution. They found loopholes to get the state of emergency going on, and it perpetuated for years. And of course, what happened with their democracy during that era? Opposition leaders were put in prison. People died in prison. We need to learn from history. We need to learn from history.
But even with our own history, 𝗪𝗵𝘁𝗀𝗍𝐿 Butler was beaten. George Weeks was beaten. Bastard Pandey was beaten by the police in Trinidad, but we didn't have no cell phone and no social media in them days. Badly beaten, but batters, right? What David Welch did yesterday did not warrant this vicious attack that I saw by the TTPS. And there's a reason, I sent a message to Gary Griffith, there's a reason why we supported Gary Griffith to become Commissioner of Police, was to correct certain things. And what this police did, I have family in the police force, I have friends in the police force, and what they did there is jeopardizing the lives of my family in the police force by their wicked behavior, because they are damaging
and that is very true. And that is so very true. Force. That is very true.
Okay?
When a couple of them do these things, yeah,
you know, it's my friends
very
and
true.
family in the police force. So these guys who decided to jackass the scene with the police and embarrass Prime Ministerial language now. Prime Ministerial language now. These police who decide to jackass the scene and embarrass the TTPS with their nasty behavior has jeopardized my family in the police force.
You're absolutely right. So because they see a uniform and they're gonna go after the uniform.
Yeah. So they're gonna know who was the good one and who was the bad one. Right?
You're absolutely right.
So I am calling on the Commissioner of Police to address this issue head on, but how Mr. Welch was treated, and make sure that no citizen is treated so unwarrantedly. If a man pull a gun on the police officer, is something else. David Welch was walking the street. He was fighting for the rights of the people suffering in the country, was raising an issue to the government. Just like how I was trying to raise the issue with the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, that the suffering they caused and the people outside the country and what was taking place. And Dr. Lawley puff up his chest more, and Stuart Young puff up his chest more, and try to deny the fact and refute the fact that people were suffering outside the country here. But I continue upgrading the fight. I continue to upgrade the fight. So I am saying, audio, keep up the fight. We are going to provide the support on this side, and let's collaborate with each other. We are inviting the members of the diaspora and the international community to know what's going on in the country and to stand up with you guys on the ground.
And of course, they can email the president. On my Facebook, we've provided, and I gave you the template and the email address.
That is there.
Yes. So I did see a few people from our diaspora email, because I've asked them to copy just so that we can have an idea, because I know a few people reached out to ask how's it going and stuff. So when they send my email and stuff, it's you know, good for them to let me know, even when they drop off their letters, so that I can have an idea of, you know, what's going on, to report to persons like yourselves, our supporters.
I remember in the initial stages of the stranded citizen issue, I emailed the president's office and I called, and as being representative of WZYE. And when I called there, and they send me around. Nobody get back to me yet.
So Ms. Walker, before you go,
we got a response, but a very generic one.
So before you
Not
go,
good enough. Sorry to say, the response is not good enough.
so Ms. Walker, before you go, if you had to send a message to the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, Dr. 𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃, what would be your message?
Open the country now. End the state of emergency now. Stop your dictatorship behavior now. Restore our rights now. Bring back democracy now. Stop it. Stop your nonsense. That's my message.
Thank you so very kindly. We really appreciate you, and we thank you, and we want you to continue the work that you're doing, and we will have you here anytime in the village. Any closing words before you go?
I urge my citizens, there is strength in numbers. The only way we can fight this is to unite. We first start with a protest by pen. Please write to the president, plead with her to sit with the Prime Minister and demand data. Bring the data to the public so that we can stand on data once and for all and call for the immediate reopening of the country. You have to make your voices heard. Write to your MP, write to the Prime Minister, write by the thousands. As Gary suggested, stand outside your home with a placard. We have to find a way to legally make our voices heard. We have to start there. Guys, if we start there, then nobody, God forbid, will have to reach to the point where we are jailed and beaten. So we're asking you, let us fight with our pens first. Please unite. In a population of 1.4 million, 100,000 letters is not asking for much. Let our voices be heard, please, Trinidad and Tobago. This is a turning point in our nation's history. Stand and fight.
Mrs. Walker, we want to thank you so very kindly for taking the time to join us. And we definitely would like to have you back in the near future. Thank you so very kindly.
Thank you so much. We depend on great media personalities like you to help us get our word out.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. All right. It's a pleasure. So, folks, I tell you, you know, we're going fast and furious here tonight. Fast and furious. Let's go straight to Tobago, boy. We ain't wasting time. We're not wasting time, boy. We have the one and only, the deputy political leader of the PDP, Mr. Farley Augustine, joining us live and direct from Tobago. Mr. Augustine, let me say to you before you go, we had to do our protocols. My father from 𝗏𝗏𝘁𝗃𝗏𝗏, Tobago.
Oh, God.
Right. That's good. That's good.
Yeah. So it's here, my father name is Shaki. He's the co-owner of 𝗏𝗏𝘁𝗃𝗏𝗏 come in 𝗏𝗏𝘁𝗃𝗏𝗏, Tobago.
Yes, I think I know Shaki well, and I know 𝗏𝗏𝘁𝗃𝗏𝗏 quite well.
Yeah, so I'm
well.
Right, so I'm 50% Trinidadian and 50% Tobagonian. All right.
Good evening, Good evening, sir. This is Miss Benskin.
Well, you need to wait for me to do the protocols, man.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, well, we have with us, it's in the village with the DAG triplets. The DAG is Diana, who is called the Storm. We have Ansem, they call me Wall Street. And we have Gary, who is called the Phantom. And then we have a fourth person, who is called the Outside Child. But the ladies in the chat call him the Love Child. so you can see, go Diana.
So, Mr. Farley, I can call you that, right, sir?
That's fine.
I was born in Trinidad and Tobago to two Bajan people. So what that make me?
That makes you a Trinbagonian just the same. That's the native.
Wait. My mother and father is two Bajan.
That's okay. Once you're born on this blessed soil, trust me, you're Trinbagonian.
Well, I no. Two cat can't go in the oven and make kitten and call it bread.
Well, what do you identify with? Because I could tell you, I am what, only third generation Tobagonian. My great grandfather was from Grenada, so this Augustine surname is not even Tobagonian, you know.
I identify as Trin-Beige-Gonian.
Trin-Beige-Gonian. That's good. That's good.
A Trin-Beige-Gonian.
I like it. I like that.
Yeah.
That's
so, Mr. Augustine, we want to thank you so very kindly, for giving us your time, and we are happy that you can come into the village and join us. And when you come into the village, right, all of the play softball in Trinidad and Tobago, right? Softball is when you throw them easy question for people. Softball here is a softer ball. It's not like West Indies cricket. We play a hard cock ball. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know, yeah.
Yeah. So when you come in the village, we like to throw kind of, we don't throw softball, and we have many people in the chat who has also sent us questions. So we take questions from the chat as well. So, sure, Mr. Augustine, what is it that Tobago is looking for with regards to internal self-governance? What will internal self-governance for Tobago look like? And what are you guys looking for as far as internal self-governance for Tobago?
All right, so let me start by explaining what it is. Now, if you look at the history between Trinidad and Tobago, you can easily call it a forced marriage, an arranged marriage. When Trinidad was brought together with Tobago or vice versa, the truth is the people of Tobago at the time didn't even want it. But the colonial masters decided, look, the best thing that could happen is to just put these two islands together because they're close by and hopefully everything will work out. Now, whenever you have a society that is made up of territories, especially outlying territories that have different history and culture and social makeup, there is always a quest for what we call self-governance. And that is recognized by United Nations as that right to have a government of your own choosing and of your own structure and style and so forth. That's not unique to Trinidad and Tobago at all. Right in the region, if you go to 𝗧𝘂𝗲𝗏𝘆, they ended up developing what is called a federation, quite like the US system. So they developed a federal system. What Tobagonians have been asking for is a quasi-federal system, or what those in the United Kingdom like to call devolution of powers. If you go to the UK, you will see it there as well. Scotland has its own government, Wales, Northern Ireland, you could go Jersey, Isle of Man, you name it. The outlying regions in the United Kingdom, the outlying nations, if I should use that term, they each have devolved powers. And for those of us who are into football, for example, you will recognize that Scotland has its own football team, but the United Nations does not recognize Scotland as an independent country. The country is still the United Kingdom. Now, what Tobago is asking for, Norway reaches up as far as what Scotland has in terms of its devolved powers. But what Tobago is saying, look, the Tobago space for it to grow in terms of its economy, socially and culturally, there is a need for Tobago to have a government that is allowed to pass laws specific to the island of Tobago. And that's no different from what happens in New York or in New Jersey or in Florida. Each state has that ability to pass laws that are specific to its jurisdiction, to its state jurisdiction. And that's separate and apart from the function of the federal government. So Tobagonians are asking for a quasi-federal system or federal type system, not fully federal, because we can't yet get our Trinidadian colleagues to agree that perhaps they need to have something similar to the Tobago House of Assembly. Then that will be federal. In other words, Trinidad could have its own local government, Tobago its own local, and then we have the overarching central government or federal system. But because Trinidad is not there yet in terms of its demands, Tobago is asking for a quasi-federal system, quite like the devolution of powers that exists in the United Kingdom. And let me just give you one example so you'll understand how important that is. Well, two examples rather. One, the last bill that was passed by the THA in November last year before the THA elections was a bill for Tobago to create marine parks and legislate having marine parks. That will include the Buku Reef especially, but to manage our marine ecosystems. Now, that in order for that to happen, the Territory has to write, at the present, Territory has to write to the Parliament, well, through the Cabinet, and the Cabinet must decide if that is important enough to take to the Parliament. So something as simple as creating marine parks, we cannot do it on our own in Tobago. We don't have the legislative authority to do it on our own. However, I could tell you that at least 10 or 12 years ago, there was an attempt to create a marine park for Speyside. Guess what? It went down to Parliament, and the issue never surfaced in the Parliament because it's a Tobago issue and it's not seen as a national priority issue. And there are many other such simple issues that may not be national priority issues, but are priorities for us in Tobago, because our economy is based on tourism primarily. Our economy is based on maintaining the environment. Ecotourism is big for us. In fact, we have won many, many awards for ecotourism across the world. The Main Ridge Rainforest is the oldest protected one in the Western Hemisphere. And so for us, we will like that these things that are really intrinsic to us, important to us as an island, that we are able to handle them on our own, and we don't have to wait until somebody down in Trinidad decides, well, this is important enough for us to pick it up as an issue and to treat with it. And that's why the calls for internal self-government, as Robinson termed it, or self-government or greater autonomy has been there for as long as the relationship between Trinidad and Tobago existed. And if you listen to the debates in the Parliament, you will hear the Attorney General admit that when Great Britain placed us with Trinidad, they placed us as a ward of Trinidad and made Trinidad sort of like a caretaker for Tobago, when what Tobago needs is the ability to stand side by side with Trinidad. I explained to a doctor today that Trinidad and Tobago are not identical twins, but we might be fraternal twins, sharing the same bloodline, although being identical in size and population density and so on. And it's that kind of arrangement, that devolution of power from the center to Tobago, and maybe in the future that will lead to larger constitutional change, which is needed in Trinidad and Tobago, that we are really clamoring for at this time.
I tell you, Mr. Farley, you know, all the good in Tobago, you know, they need to give all the internal self-governance, because I believe that once that happened for Tobago, the rest is history. The rest is history. But many people may say, right, that if we give you guys internal self-governance, why should we still give you guys 6.8% of the budget? Right? Some people may say that.
And that's a very good question. And the truth is, most people ask that question because they don't understand. They don't understand how contributions towards the national pie goes. That isn't quite understood. So most people ask that question, do not realize that at this present moment, that Tobago is also a contributor to the national purse. In fact, one of the biggest discussions and arguments and debates that we are having now is that the AG is saying, look, we cannot define Tobago in these bills and define Tobago with all these waters that Tobago has. In fact, Tobago's maritime boundaries are larger than Trinidad's. But because we are an archipelagic state with two islands, two primary islands, where we have some other small ones, the result is that we have all of these waters comparative to our neighbors east of Tobago and northeast of Tobago, like Barbados and Grenada and so on. So Tobago is a contributor to the national purse, and Tobago will continue to be a contributor to the national purse. We also have a situation where most of the taxes for Tobago are not paid in Tobago still. So all the multinationals and the conglomerates that exist on the island of Tobago, they pay their Tobago part of the taxes in Trinidad. So it's never even disaggregated either. So we are contributors. And the idea of giving Tobago a percentage, a standard percentage of the national budget, is so that hopefully we can bring Tobago to a place where it's parallel to its sister Trinidad in terms of its development trajectory, its development path, its development achievement. It's easy to see that there are clear differences between the both islands when it comes to certain development parameters. And we want it to become equal, that there be equity. Because if Trinidad and Tobago is to become a developed nation, and that was the goal some years ago by former Prime Minister, Mr. Manning, God bless his soul, but that was a goal some years ago. But in order for that to happen, it cannot be where one island shoots off ahead of the other and the other is left languishing. We also have to remember that for at least the first 20 years of the existence of the THA was being underfunded. You may not know it, but just in the 90s, between 96 and 2001, in that period, we had a situation where the entire island of Tobago, and all its development and all of its recurrent expenditure was being catered for with less than 30 million. Now think about it. Less than 30 million TT to pay all your bills, pay all your workers, do all the development work, including your road infrastructure, public transportation, and Act 40 of 1996 that we were operating on then and we still operating on now has some 32 areas that the THA has responsibility for. And what happened is that we triggered something called the Dispute Resolution Commission, which is a function of the law that says when we have conflict, especially over funding, trigger the Dispute Resolution Commission, which is an impartial kind of arrangement with reps from the THA, reps from the central government, and we have the ombudsman coming in to mediate and decide what is fair. And that was decided as what is fair in an attempt to bring Tobago up to speed to match its neighbor Trinidad in terms of development. So we are contributors to the national pie too. And I want Trinidadians to understand that most of the budget that is spent, yes, we might get 6.8%, but 6.8% of our national budget of approximately $55 billion doesn't work out to be that much. And you must remember that all of the remaining amounts, well, most of the remaining amounts actually are spent in Trinidad and not in Tobago. So when you give Tobago that piece of the pie, Trinidad doesn't then come along to spend in Tobago additional sums, except for a few areas like national security, which is retained as a function of the central government and has not been devolved to the THA.
So also, Mr. Augustine, many people may say that there are 60,000 people in Tobago, right? And Trinidad has the majority of the population. Shouldn't we be giving you a percentage of the people in Tobago, 60,000, as opposed to the people in Trinidad? That's 60,000. I did the math.
Yes, the population Tobago is about 60,000.
Right.
That's
right.
correct.
Shouldn't you be getting that percentage of the budget because there's only 60,000 people?
Well, what was worked out by the DRC is that for development expenditure, we should get a proportion of the budget relative to our per capita share. And that's why the DRC suggested that we get between just over 4% and 6.8%. 6.8 being the higher part of the scope.
But why didn't they give you 6.9%? Why didn't they give you guys 6.9%? Why 6.8%? I mean, I didn't mean to cut you there, but why 6.8 as opposed to 6.9?
Well, what they try to work out is a percentage based on Tobago's per capita share.
Okay. All right.
The country has around 1.4 million people. And Tobago has about 60,000 residents on the island of Tobago. Then they work out a per capita share plus some extra because you also want to cater for the eventuality of population growth. And one of the things that is quite interesting as well is that there is a larger Tobago population living in Trinidad than living on the island of Tobago. And that also speaks to the question of the development levels between the both islands. A significant amount of our young professionals, when they leave to go and study and so on, they seldom return to Tobago. And then when you ask them, they will say, well, what Tobago have for me? And part of the problem is that Tobago has not been given the opportunity to grow at the same pace as Trinidad. Traditionally, we have held a principle of one for Tobago. Growing up in this country, one of the things I recognize is whenever something is being done, they will always say, well, we're going to put one for Tobago. Not even recognizing that one for Tobago sometimes may not be enough to cater for the Tobago population. Until we had the SEMP program, we had just 3 government assisted schools or government schools on the entire island. We struggled to get to the place of getting a new hospital, one single hospital. And many times we have to fly people across to Trinidad to get treatments that are not available in Tobago. Because we are separated by water, naturally what has to happen is that we have to develop the other part of the island, of the country, that is separated by water. It's not a case where a Tobagonian could jump on a car and drive to Trinidad and get services. So whether we like it or not, whether the population in Tobago is small or not, we have to provide the same level of services to Tobago as we provide to Trinidad, because it is a big inconvenience and it's costly to the Tobagonian to have to always jump on a plane, jump on a boat, go down to Trinidad to get stuff. And recently someone was saying to me that it's quite possible Tobagonians are spending close to $1 billion when the year comes, the calendar year, in just purchasing goods from Trinidad, because we support the Trinidad economy. In fact, a lot of the monies that come to Tobago goes back to Trinidad because we have developed an economy that is based primarily on transfers, meaning it's based primarily on people going down to Trinidad, buying stuff, coming back and selling it at a markup value. Most of the industries have not been developed out to the place where they are independent. And one of the reasons why I got involved in politics is because I want to create for Tobagonians that kind of confidence that says, look, the country is 1.4 million, your market is 1.4 million, and you must be willing to go beyond just buying some stuff and bringing it up on the boat and selling it back in Tobago. We must start sending things down to Trinidad to be sold. And it must be more than Benet Ball and Tambran Ball and Sugar Cake and Tulum and those confectionaries that we are known for. Those are great. And yes, there is a market for that. But there is a need for us to inject into Tobago some much needed resources that will help to stir the economy in Tobago to the point where the private sector in Tobago grows. At the moment, the single largest sector on the island is the government sector. The government sector is the largest employer. The government sector is the largest spender. The government sector gives out the most contracts. We do not have a robust private sector on the island of Tobago in comparison to Trinidad and other Caribbean territories. Our size, our geography, and our population size. There are Caribbean territories with our population size and smaller, who quite frankly seem to have a much more robust economy than we have in Tobago.
So, Mr. Farley Augustine, it's at the top of the hour. We're going to go for a quick station identification. Of course, we have with us tonight Assemblyman Mr. Farley Augustine, boy. The man is into the parkers, but he's a play cricket. He used to play cricket, boy. So we're going to go for a quick station identification, and we'll be right back with the Deputy Political Leader of the PDP, Mr. Farley Augustine. We'll be right back.
You're listening to WZYE 95.9 FM. You are listening to WZYE 95.9 FM, the most influential name in Caribbean radio in the tri-state area. Broadcasting from East Orange, New Jersey, the most influential name in Caribbean radio, WZYE 95.9 FM.
And of course, we are back with you. It's in the village with the DAG Triplets on WZYE 95.9 FM. We have with us in the village tonight no other than the Assemblyman, Deputy Political Leader of the PDP, Mr. Farley Augustine. Yeah, Mr. Farley Augustine. Mr. Augustine, meeting you for the first time, I ain't gonna lie to you, right? And I am very proud that I have roots in Tobago, but you know, I know if Tobago gets internal self-governance, that you guys go hit it out of the park. You guys ain't gonna be like the West Indies team, you know, the start off beating up South Africa and then they end up losing.
Oh gosh.
You know,
and end up losing. No. And we intend to, because one of the things that we want to have happen is that I want to insist that we must do so well that the average Trini must look at Tobago and say, you know what? If Tobago could do it, why can't Trinidad do it as well? And Trinidad and Tobago, I believe, is a blessed country. I love Trinidad and Tobago. I love my country. But I believe that we have not always fulfilled our purpose and maximize on our potential. And I believe that there's a lot more that we can be doing in order to ensure that the gains are even greater. If we look at what Trinidad and Tobago has been blessed with over the years, the truth is we are supposed to be the Athens of the Caribbean. We're supposed to be the Dubai of the Caribbean. We are supposed to be the best thing to ever happen to the Caribbean. And there are some ways that it's undeniable that we have been extremely successful in and that we have done well in, and we must be proud of that. But there are many other ways in which we have fallen short. And I always say our marker should be to not compare ourselves necessarily with the rest of the Caribbean that might not be doing well, but let's compare ourselves with the best. How do we get to that place where we can do the best? And one of the benefits of having internal self-government is that Tobago itself can help build the economy of Trinidad and Tobago. In fact, the economy of the country will benefit from a much more empowered Tobago. Let's give you a simple example. At the moment, everybody knows we're struggling to get a little US. If you fly home now and you get some US dollars, you can make some money on your US dollars, selling your US dollars at a markup value on the black market. Because when you go to the bank, if you have to travel and you go to the bank, at best they may give you 200 US dollars. When you travel with your credit card, they give you some restrictions on how much you can spend or withdraw on a daily basis when you're abroad. And I am saying, but you have sweet Tobago here. If the tourism economy in Tobago is developed to a certain standard, then we ain't got no problem to get foreign currency in the country, because tourism helps to bring in foreign exchange. That's a natural benefit of it. And so the entire country can benefit from Tobago being more empowered. And nationally, the discussion has been there to devolve more powers to the local governments, to the borough corporations. You're in the US system, so you know how important the local government is. They're the ones that do a lot of the fixes on the roads and your garbage collection and dealing with public utilities and so on. So you know how important state governments are in the US. Similarly, the discussion is about devolving more power to the local government bodies in Trinidad, the borough corporations, as we call them, so that they too can empower their specific districts even more. And I think Tobago is just the start, and it will create a ricochet effect across the rest of the country.
Diana, Tommy, or Guy, if you guys want to jump in, you can jump in at any time. I want to quickly read something here.
If Diana don't have anything, I have something to say.
I want to read something here. Let me just read this guy. This came from the chairman of the GSC, Mrs. Camille Robinson Regis.
Yes.
She said, the majority of people believe that the bill before Parliament will achieve self-governance for Tobago. Self-governance is in brackets, so she insists on achieve, but added self-governance. The majority of the people believe that the bills before Parliament will achieve self-governance for Tobago. What do you say about that?
All right, so the bill before Parliament requires some fixes, and you may have realized that the government has sort of stepped back a little bit and has opened it up for public comments and suggestions of amendments. So there's need for some tweaking. So even I just returned home from sitting in the same room with Mr. 𝗧𝘂𝗲𝗍𝘆, former Chief Secretary, sitting in the same room with Mr. Ansel Dennis, the current Chief Secretary, sitting in the same room with Miss Tracy Davidson Celestine, my nemesis, I don't know what to call my opponent, my direct opponent in the politics, sitting in the same room with independent Senator Dr. Remy, and sitting in the same room with 𝗧𝘂𝗲𝗍𝘆 Phillips from Unity of the People, and sitting in the same room with a representative from the civil society. And why we were sitting in the same room is because we wanted to together sit down and pull out where the gaps are, tighten the bills, and then say to the National Parliament, including the UNC, who has to vote for this in order for it to pass, because this requires a special majority, to say to the entire Parliament, look, these are the fixes we think that need to be made before the bill is passed. Here are the amendments, make them, and let us proceed with this experiment, further into this experiment with internal self-government. Because remember, we started this with Act 37 of 1980. The first THA came into being in 1980, and the first leader of the THA, the first chairman of the THA, was Mr. A.N.R. Robinson.
Anselm, just want to interject here. Is Mr. Welch sitting in the background?
No, he's not.
All right, let me go see if I find him and come back.
Yeah, this time give us an extra 10 minutes, okay?
Okay.
All right. So,
okay.
Go ahead, Gary.
Yeah, so Mr. Farley Augustine, the UNC was on the show here a few times, and what they had said is that what they want is what the people of Tobago want. We don't want or we out here don't want to see the government hoodwink this deal and play around with it and try to force something down the people of Tobago's throat. So based on what the UNC is not holding up this thing because they don't want to help you. They want to see you have the right to say what you want there, and the government don't play with it. That is what they are looking at. So they want.
No, I agree with you. I believe that they want it. They have said so themselves. In 2013, UNC brought its own bill, and unfortunately, at that time, the then opposition leader, Dr. Rowley, walked out on the process in 2013, so that bill lapsed. Right now, because coming from Tobago, I had significant saying to the government, look, what you have brought there has some errors, they require some fixes. When I say significant voices, I'm not just talking about myself or Mr. Duke. You had 𝗧𝘂𝗲𝗍𝘆 saying that, you had 𝗪𝗵𝘁𝗆𝑚𝑔𝑖NS saying that, you had Stanley Baird saying that, you had Delmon Baker saying that, you had Pamela Nicholson, a former MP, saying that. So essentially we had several voices from Tobago saying, hold up, let us suggest to you some fixes. The Law Association in Tobago said that, civil society said that, and so the UNC was basically saying, hold up, don't rush this so quickly through Parliament. If it is there are people in Tobago with significant leadership and voice in Tobago saying, let us hold and fix the bill. And I believe that's what they attempted to say at the debates. Unfortunately, the debates did not go the way I hoped they would have gone. You know, our politics have become so antagonistic. It's a shame.
Correct.
And I'll be honest
with you. It's a shame.
There are days I ask myself, what the hell I get into? Why I tell me get into this? I mean, my options in 2017 were twofold, right? I was a teacher at the time, but I was looking at two things. I get involved in politics, or I migrate and do some more studies. And I chose politics at the moment, and there are days I have serious regrets about it.
Well, you chose to stand up to fight for your people.
It has become so antagonistic, and the maturity isn't there sometimes. If you listen, if you look at how Robinson presented the original motion in 1977, Robinson was leader of DAC. DAC had only 2 seats in the national parliament, only 2 seats. But Robinson went to the parliament, and instead of attempting to sway everybody who was opposite, you know what he did? He told the story of Tobago. He tried to bring them across. He cajoled them. He massaged them. He allowed for a committee of the parliament to happen. He worked with them where they were. He used all his persuasive techniques and so on, because that's what you do when you're in government. When you require the opposition, to support a thing. You can't come in and from the start of as the bell ring, you start to cuss and talk down to the opposition and then expect their support. The truth is, if I'm opposition and you come in with a bill that requires my support, and from your opening line you start to cuss me, I will turn my back on the process. I will. And I'm saying the process is not over yet. There is an opportunity for us to really approach this from a much more civilized perspective, without the cussing and the carrying on. And so let us negotiate the thing properly and work the thing properly, please.
So quickly, let's go to some questions in the chat, right? Someone says, what about the rope and ziplining project?
Well, I can tell you, the Executive Council in Tobago budgeted $4 million for a zipline project. Out of that $4 million, we spent a little over $3 million, and we still do not have a zipline. When the Auditor General came to Tobago and did their checks, the Auditor General found only some ropes that did not meet the requirement, did not match or line up with the amount of monies spent. And even to this day, we cannot find that zip line, nor do we have any sure word of when the zip line will get here. And that was one of the major issues, major talking points that came up in the recently held election. And I know Mrs. Davidson Celestine was upset with me. I am probably public enemy number 1 in her books. But the truth is, it is what it is. You are in charge of a zipline project by virtue of being the line secretary, in charge of that division, and we don't have the zipline, and we can't spend over $3 million on a project, and we can't see the project anywhere. And when we look around the Caribbean, I went to St. Lucia. In St. Lucia, it's about $100 to go on that zipline story that they have in St. Lucia. About $100. You know how much TT that is? Right now, that is almost $700 TT to go on a zipline. I don't know if I could tell Tobagonians come and pay $700 to go on a zipline. But the point is, if we were to use that to begin injecting some technology in the tourism product being offered in Tobago, then it needed to be present if we had already spent or expended so much money from it.
Well, something I want to see happen. You must have direct flights coming into your airport and ports. That whether it's a ship or an aircraft, you need that international direct connection. It should not happen where you have to go through to Trinidad to come to Tobago. That must stop immediately. This is something that you need to be in control of.
That is critical. And
the second thing is that,
go ahead.
I raised with Mr. Ashford Jack when he became elected in Tobago. I raised the issue of the hospitals. That how critical it was for you to have a hospital that is fully equipped with the landing unit helicopter landing for in case of emergency. So like a heliport. So that was something that I suggested. Including
we now have that. We have that facility where the helicopters can land directly at the hospital and pick up. Long time the helicopters will land at Shore Park, and an ambulance will take you from the hospital to Shore Park and so on. But we have a much more upgraded hospital now. The management of it is another question.
I hear you.
as is the case with healthcare across the country. You know, we have a challenge with the management of healthcare across the country. And this is not even putting jobs at the politicians in charge of health. I'm talking about the professionals managing healthcare across the country. We have a RHS system. And the way the RHS system is supposed to work is that each RHA is supposed to be in direct competition with the other. And in some ways develop what we call competitive advantage. So there may be some procedures that this RHA specializes in as opposed to the other. And so we could, in a very networking kind of manner, in a satellite kind of manner, ensure we deliver all the necessary services to the people of the country through the RHA model. It doesn't quite work as well as we hope that they will work. But it's something that we're just working on and that we're just pushing through on.
But maybe it's because you have people who are not really into what they're doing, and that is something that is a lackadaisical attitude where they really don't care. And then in some aspects you might not have sufficient staff and sufficient trained people with what you're trying to achieve. You might have a vision and what you want, but then you have those stumbling blocks that people are at their own agenda. And you know, so these are the kind of things we deal on both sides of the country. But I would like to see Tobago have control of its own destination and what happens in Tobago, even with the medical situation and the healthcare. But you need to have control of driving your own economy and marketing Tobago for tourism specifically. I mean, because tourism.
But we need to diversify away from tourism. If I may, I'm just seeing a set of questions popping up, and I'm not sure how much time we have, but I just wanted to just talk to a few of them that I see popping up in the chat. One person asking about the rally competitions that used to take place at the 30-inch track. Those rally competitions have not happened in a very long time. And one of the proposals I made in the recently held election is that I will build out the car racing industry on the island. There is a need for it. We need to take our young men, especially off of the highways, from speeding on the highways and racing on the highways, and give them some legitimacy with a decent track that will attract car enthusiasts and speed enthusiasts and so on up to Tobago. So we need to get that done. The issue of Tobago having 2 hospitals, ribbon was cut for a second hospital in Roxborough, but the hospital is not operational as yet. What we have there is the health center operating at the moment, but we don't have a full hospital operating in Roxborough as yet. But a second one was built in theory, but in practice it's not there as yet. What are the plans for the public service? One of the things that is critical for the public service is that we need to go the route of Singapore. Singapore developed a sort of a public service school whereby we train and teach and mentor our public servants so that they can be of best service. That is missing in Tobago and might I dare say across the country. So we have several situations in the country where we have breaking down in the public service because we don't have a transfer of information and training and is not efficient. And that will also help in some areas insofar as the ensuring that accountability takes place and we won't have the Auditor General down our backs with misdemeanors and wrongdoing, because the public servants will know their jobs and will do their jobs regardless of who is in charge. How does Tobagonians feel about the airport terminal expansion project by the CCP and the PNM? Well, I could tell you, Tobagonians know we need a new airport. What Tobagonians are upset about is the approach to the new airport. They have basically come and said, look, we need 50 plus acres of your land to build this airport. Granted, on average, across the Caribbean region, airports are on about 78 acres thereabout on average. Trinidad has one of the largest airport facilities on over 100 acres of land, the entire facility. But if we look at international arrivals, countries with smaller airports like St. Lucia and Grenada they are getting significantly more international arrivals with the smaller airport on the smaller acreage than Trinidad gets with its over 100 acres airport. So the size of the airport does not determine the quantum of international visitors you will get. It has to do with your product and how you manage and market your product.
And but didn't A.N.R. Robinson expand that airport so large jets can land there? Didn't he expand it enough for that a large jet can come in?
Right. So A.N.R. Robinson was the first one to give us an international airport, because before we did not have one. So it was when A.N.R. Robinson became Prime Minister in '86 that in that time frame that we got an international airport for the island of Tobago. And the expansion since then has been minimal. And so there is a need for a new airport. The question is, do we need to take well over 50 acres of people's land, basically dislocate an entire community of people, several families and so on? I think that there was a better approach to that. And mark you, Tobago actually had a plan for an airport that did not involve moving all of these people. The question of Mr. Farley, are you and Mr. Duke on the same page? We are on the same page, and I would say mostly, because the truth is, one of the unique things about our party is that we are a young party, and we are a party that allows for dissenting views to make its way within the discussion of the party, because we are trying our best to push Tobago away from the hardline party politics. And when people will actually represent people. Let me tell you what I mean, Alwick. I pay attention to US politics quite a bit. And there has been discussion about removing the filibuster rule in the Senate. But there are some Democrats in the Senate who are not yet sold on the idea and are likely to vote against removing the rule. Why? Because for them, politics is not about towing a hard party line, but politics is about representing the people that elect you. And so, yes, my party allows for that dissent and for debate to happen, but we are on the same page about practically all the governance issues on the island, because we will debate the things, we will debate internally, and then we will come to the public and say, look, this is the best policy, the best principle that we ought to go on for Tobago. Yes, I see some people that they love Tobago women. You know, all Tobago women.
Don't worry about that fella, man. Don't worry about that fella. Don't worry about
that is when I claim to be a Tobagonian.
It's a boneless man. You have to be thick. You have to get the thickness. We like them.
But Mr. Farley, before you go, right, if you had to send a message to the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, Dr. 𝗧𝗂𝗏𝗆𝐺, what would be your message to the Prime Minister?
My message to the Prime Minister would be simple. Dr. Rowley, I don't hold you up for going to the Parliament and saying that I am disrespectful and for ridiculing me in the Parliament for having a different opinion. I just want you, Mr. Prime Minister, to listen to us and to be more conciliatory in your approach. Please, Mr. Prime Minister, be conciliatory in your approach. The politics has changed, and I know, Mr. Prime Minister, you plan on resigning. You have said it yourself that you'll be retiring from politics after this term. But please, the politics has changed. The world is now looking for people and for leadership that can work across the aisle. There is no need for us to have an antagonistic relationship. And I am not going to go down the road that the Prime Minister and Mrs. 𝗪𝗪𝘆 are in with each other, right? This back and forth and trading of insults. It's not helpful, it's not productive. We can build a stronger society, a stronger country, a stronger economy, if it is we can, in a civilized way, debate the issues, share our differences, but be respectful in how we share our differences. Just be respectful in appreciating and acknowledging the differences that we have in our political philosophies. Please, Mr. Prime Minister. I don't want to have to ban you from coming back to Tobago, from returning to Tobago when you retire. I wanted to retire and come to Tobago and be able to lolo your Pigeon Point or drive around the island. I have goats to Mr. Prime Minister, and who knows, we could trade 1 or 2 ram goats because I need some ram goats to service my stock. So, Mr. Prime Minister, please, there is a better way for us to approach this. Let us approach this in a manner that can make all of Trinidad and Tobago proud, as opposed to a manner that leads to us hating each other and being vitriolic. There is no need for that. There is no need for that. Please, Mr. Prime Minister, all the best. Love you all. Love you, Trinidad and Tobago. All of you in the diaspora, hopefully, or before I go, when we are reopened, and I will tell you when, I will love to come out, especially to the tri-state area. You know, to get to interact one-on-one with Tobagonians, Trinidadians, and understand how you in the diaspora can contribute back home to Tobago, because there is a place for you in the diaspora. I am not one of those who believe that you leave here, stay out there, mind your business is home in Trinidad and Tobago too. And I will love to create avenues for you to be able to contribute, not just by sending money to Western Union and sending some barrels. Remittances are good, but many of you are highly skilled, highly educated, and I think instead of us spending all these monies on big consultants from all over the world, we can pull our diaspora to be part of the development plans for the country. So, members of the diaspora,
before you go, I'll call you Farley. Before you go.
Fine, yes.
You see that manifesto you just put forward? Eh? Yeah. I like that manifesto, you know. I tell you, I like that manifesto, you know, boy. You're making me try to PDP it, you know. You're making me try to PDP it.
I show your father and family voting PDP. I show everybody in the family voting PDP. Because Roxborough run PNM from Roxborough and vote the Watson Duke. All the bad talking Watson Duke. Roxborough not leaving the Watson Duke, you know.
Listen,
and
we are 100% with you. You
one
guys have no idea how much we are with you. So we want you to come back, bring 𝗲𝗃𝗀𝐻𝗲𝗄, bring Watson Duke, and let's have a good meeting.
Yeah, man.
Listen, he say he want to come and interact with Trinidadian and Tobago, and he ain't want to interact with no Bajan. But that's okay. I always in Tobago, you know, and I support that kindergarten school, Kinderland Kindergarten in Roxborough. I bought them a computer, and I support the child. I provided hampers for the people there when the pandemic first started.
Yes,
they know me as Tanti D. Ask them about Tanti D.
I will ask them about Tanti D. Yes. You're welcome anytime. Right. And I promise you, I will give you as much flying fish as you desire.
I don't want flying fish from Tobago. I go in Barbados for flying fish. I want Bajan flying fish. Me want a Bago flying fish.
Is Tobago flying fish you're eating in Barbados?
No.
He's giving away flying fish.
So, Mr. Farley, we want to thank you so much, man. This was a very robust, wonderful conversation, and we appreciate you coming and joining us, man, and spending so much time with us. We want to thank you so very kindly, man. We appreciate it.
Yeah, I thank you for having me.
Very good.
Thank you so much. All right, take care, man. There we have it, man.
Yes, indeed.
Mr. Welch should be in the background.
Yeah.
Anselm, it seems as though the UNC and PNM have outlived their usefulness in Trinidad and Tobago.
But God will get vexed,
Yep.
No, but you know.
Yeah, they'll outlive. We got to bring the BLP, Barbados Labour Party, later on.
No. Let's add the young man to our stream, Mr. David Welch. We want to thank you so very kindly, man, for being so patient.
Yes.
Anytime you come over, you have to have patience,
My champion.
Good evening.
Yes. There we go.
There are a lot of people waiting on this guy.
Yesterday, I did a live and I asked, where is David Welch? Ollie, look at me here.
Look here.
Welcome.
Yeah, man. We want to say David Welch, a 21-year-old black boy from Mova, right? Now I am 62. I never still call myself a little black boy from 𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃, because I grew up in 𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃, building 1 apartment 2-1. And what you have done, man, what you have done, brother, I have to tell you, and let me tell you this, I am a PNM supporter, right? But you see what you did? I support you full 100. I didn't look at you as going and do that as a UNC activist or anything like that. I look at you as a black youth man doing this on your own, walking from over. But I used to walk from 𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃, you know.
Almost close enough. Almost close enough.
Yeah. That a longer walk than that next time, right? But when I see what you did, David, and David, let me say something. I know it was on Philip Edward Alexander program, but you see, we have in America here what we call white privilege.
Yeah.
Right? And the way they treated you as opposed to how they treated him. And also, there's a fella who is in charge of Fishermen and Friends. Fishermen and Friends of the Sea. Gary Aboud. He had staged a protest also. And they arrested him very peacefully. It was a peaceful arrest. They just come and they say, Mr. Aboud, we're going to take you away. Can you put your hands behind your back? They put your hands behind your back. They put your handcuff on them nicely. But you, a little black boy from Nova, was a whole different story. And that was sad. And it's like, they already had the intentions of how they were going to treat you. Welcome, man.
Thanks so much.
How are you feeling?
I'm in the shock. I'm in shock. I'm in shock with everything that happened throughout the week so far. This week was just an interesting week.
So David, that last 2 minutes, man, just walk us through that last 2 minutes before they brutally, I put a post, they brutally arrested you. Just walk us through that process. What you were thinking, what's going through your mind, you know what I mean?
Well, what was going through my mind is, in my mind, I'm saying, here we go again. I didn't expect it to go down the way it went down. I mean, I was filming the entire thing, so I would have thought the officers would have at least acted appropriately a little bit, and I might have been the one looking like a fool. But the officers just blatantly come and just grabbed me and threw me onto the ground. And honestly, I thought I was going to die for a second, just a little second, because I was telling the officers that, hey, I can't breathe. One of the officers' leg was just across my left shoulder, pressing down. And I'm there like, hey, I can't breathe. When the officer picked me up and they tell me to put on the mask, keep trying to tell them, I can't breathe. Let me sit down. Let me catch my breath. I can't breathe. So because I just walked from Mova to Port of Spain and then was tackled on the ground by some police officers. And it was shocking to me to know that my own officers would do that to me because we might share different views on something, and they would have gotten higher orders to do what they did. So, I mean, what went through my mind, I think my mind was gone. I was in just total shock.
David, I have a question for you. There are persons who might say that you provoked and created the breeding ground for you to be slammed to the ground. What do you say to those critics?
I'll say that our officers are trained to withstand these I don't know how to call it, but they are trained to deal with hostile situations. These are the men and women that say that they are protecting and saving us. If they're protecting us, how are they protecting us if they are easily provoked? And if they are easily provoked, they slam you to the ground and put you in handcuffs, bruise you up, send you to prison. I mean, they are just opening up the TTPS for lawsuits.
But I don't see what you did. This is Gary. I didn't see what you did to provoke them to act in such a manner. You were just walking by. You didn't pose as a threat. You didn't pull a gun. You didn't lift nothing at them. You were just simply walking by towards the commissioner's office. And we supported strongly. I said this to Marsha when she was on before. We supported Gary Griffith for a specific purpose, because we wanted somebody we could trust in the TTPS to manage the TTPS, because we know what went on over the years. Okay, we know about the brutality. So for this to happen under his watch, I am sending a message to him that these officers that did this, they are jeopardizing my family that's within the force. Because they're going to see the uniform. When people get pissed off, they ain't going to see who is not and who's not. You know what I'm saying? They're going to see uniform. And we saw what happened in Haiti. We don't want to see that happen in Trinidad. So we are saying, let's do the right thing. Let's maintain the democratic process. Let you do your thing and peacefully, because I have not seen any aggression from everything that you did. No aggression. This is our police force. We all have relatives in the force. We're not going to attack the force because we have relatives. I mean, on both sides of the fence. So how are we going to plan any physical attack because we have relatives within the force? So we are representing the issue. You representing the issue that you see the people are suffering in the country, and you're raising the issue. And for them to attack you so viciously, I say it is totally unacceptable, and I am holding the Commissioner of Police accountable for this action.
But David,
I totally agree with that as well. Yeah.
You know what's kind of sad to me, boy? This was sad. I watched some posts with some PNM people, and I call them, those are the PNM and the go along, get along PNM gang, right? And the statement was like, well, David only had this in his pocket, or David only had this and this, that. And I want to say to them, man, you think that what happens to David cannot reach to all your house, eh? But remember now, when the police looking at all you, the police not looking at all you as a PNM or as a UNC or as a ILP, They're looking at you as a black person. And they're not going to treat you the same way they treat Philip Alexander, the way they treat Gary Aboud, and the same way they treat people in the 1% community. They treat people in urban America, I saw this urban, in urban Trinidad and Tobago much differently than they treat people in suburban Trinidad and Tobago. And we know who predominantly lives in urban Trinidad and Tobago, the Movan environs, the Laventel environs, the Beaterman environs. And when they're going there with a different mentality.
Correct.
I have a question for you, David. You have been described by a previous guest as severely anti-PNM. Can you tell us and the viewing audience if this is so, and what got you to this stance? What got you to this situation?
Okay, I'm not anti-PNM as some persons would like to say. Anti-Rowley. I'm anti-𝗧𝗂𝗍𝗆, because I believe that he is not doing his best for the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Mr. Farley Augustine, just as you had him on the line there, he had mentioned something. He had mentioned the Prime Minister speaking about his retirement. When the Prime Minister retires, when Prime Minister Dr. Rowley retires, he's going to get all the perks, he's going to get everything that is afforded to him. So who's to say he doesn't care now about the people of Trinidad and Tobago? That is why a lot of people is suffering right now. And that is what I don't stand for. I mean, I just listened to Mr. Farley Augustine speak about some great things for Tobago there. And that is the same thing I want here for Trinidad and Tobago. And despite if it's the PNM, the UNC, the ILP, the PEP, any political party that want to bring it, so long as that they want to bring it and they're actually bringing it to the people, I'll support that. Right now, the PNM is not doing that. They promised to digitalize our economy by 2021. I'll just remind you, as of now, our country is not digitalized. They promised to fix the water issue since 1990. I promise you, it is not fixed. These are things that I look at, and these are things that I judge the party on. And I say, well, the PNM ain't the best. That's how I made my stance against the PNM.
So you are not anti-PNM, you are anti-Rowley and how he's running the country. Okay.
Totally.
Well, you see now, if I am anti Rowley, I am UNC now. You know what I mean? So
that's the narrative.
Yeah, you know, I'm a full supporter of the PNM, and I don't know comes and I tell people, all you have to understand, if your child is behaving bad You don't kick him out of the house.
No.
If your child is being, you don't kick him out of the house. You do things to get your child correct. You discipline your child. And me as a P, I'm trying to discipline the PNM under Dr. 𝗧𝗂𝗲𝘆. He listening, but I'm going to continue. I will just jump off the ship just so because he's not following or he's not doing anything he's supposed to do. But maybe he is listening because what? Like the government now is allowing exile and stranded citizens to come back home.
I won't say that they're listening, I'll say that they have no choice but to allow our people to come back home. Do you know how much lawsuits this state got because they locked so many of our nationals outside? You know how bad we are looking in the international light? I mean, just Barbados, 𝗵𝗁𝘃𝗍𝗆 and the people in Barbados had to remind our prime minister that, hey, it is my prime minister, 𝗵𝗁𝘃𝗍𝗆, that took in your stranded nationals when you left them outside there to die during the COVID-19 time. They had to remind our prime minister of that. When we refuse vaccines from, when we say that we thanking the Prime Minister of India instead of Barbados, 𝗵𝗁𝘃𝗍𝗆, for vaccines, they have to remind us of this. The thing is, I don't think that Prime Minister Rowley has the best interest of the people at heart. I think the only reason why he's doing what he's doing today is because he has no choice but to allow our people back into the country. Because if you don't, I mean, you know what's coming next. What will come next? Civil disobedience in Trinidad. I mean, we almost saw it tomorrow, because tomorrow we're going out to have an entire motorcade from DB to Port of Spain, and the people were ready to support it. The people were ready to defy the laws of the Commissioner of Police, Gary Griffith, and come out and say, hey, I am tired of this. We need change in Trinidad and Tobago, and we are going to start by the head. We need the head to change, and the head right now is Prime Minister 𝗵𝗂𝗃𝗧𝗏 Rowley.
So David, someone says, and we said that, someone says, Philip Alexander went and protested the next day. No police didn't arrest him. Is it because of white privilege, or does Black lives really matter?
In Trinidad, Black Lives Matter. We would rather stand up for the United States in front of the U.S. Embassy and say, Black Lives Matter, yeah. And a 2-year-old girl or a 2-year-old boy could drop down dead tomorrow or yesterday because he was shot in his head by officers or maybe by criminal elements in society, and we wouldn't stand up for that. I can get kicked down in front of the Red House and they'll just watch me and say, oh, well, you look pretty too bad, but George Floyd didn't look for his death in the U.S. and you came out and you protested for that right here in Trinidad. So hypocritical much?
Well, and they're going to also say that he's a supporter of the UNC, so you know, so it's okay.
Party,
you know what I mean?
That's all we see. We see color, we see UNC, we see PNM.
Yeah. They don't see a young black youth, right, who's standing for something instead of falling for anything.
Unfortunately not. I have gotten the lick bottom African comment. I've gotten the you're being paid comment. I've gotten all of that. In order for you, and I urge you, come to Trinidad and stand up for something. They'll say, go back to your country. They don't want you here. But when anybody else come here to listen, we have a mentality right now in Trinidad that really needs to change. And we need people like Farley Augustine. We need people like Watson Duke. We need people that really could bring about change in this country, that are level-headed, that have a vision for the future to come and really change this country. And it would take a damn miracle to change Trinidad and Tobago right now.
I have a question for you, David. Should the SOE be lifted?
100%.
Do you predict that then the Trinbagonians will riot?
No, I do not. I think once the SOE is lifted and people can go back out to work, people will go to work. People would rather get money in their hands than to come out and protest or riot. I think what would need to happen is another Andrea Barrett in Trinidad and Tobago before we do anything again.
Yeah, I don't think the people of Trinidad and Tobago, with the way we are, is gonna want to do that type of thing. I think that, you know, it's gonna push us to a whole. You know, I mean, this is bad. This is bad. These last 6 years is bad, and this last 16 months have been even worse, right? But it's gonna take a lot more, because, you know, a lot of people are saying, but, you know, it's harder. We have 4 more years of this thing. But some people might want to, some people might want to hang out and say, you know what, I think I might have to be able to, you know, what's that, band my belly, you know, and already see what I get, and you hope it doesn't get any worse than this. Somebody says, I'm with you full 100, and I think you should sue. Are you able to sue, David?
Yeah.
Give it there. Oh.
Oh, okay.
We are getting ready for that. We are getting ready for that. Yes.
Okay. All right. So Ulrich, you get your question answered.
Full throttle ahead.
Yep.
Yeah. Somebody says just the way Mr. Welch was treated show that Black lives don't matter in Trinidad.
Nope.
You know, and I put up a post, and somebody said, PEA, Philip Edward Alexander, actually wanted to show his white privilege, just show that there's different treatment.
I think he blatantly showed it. I think for people in general, no lives matter, because let me not lie there, and I don't want to go down that road, because then some people would bring in the comments with Andrea Barrett and her race, and I don't want to go down that road. I don't see race at all in Trinidad and Tobago. But I believe we need to stand for something. What Philip did yesterday is just facts that police officers, and really and truly, it's who you know and how you know them in Trinidad and Tobago. If you want a position, if you want to get away with something, especially white-collared crime, and literal, the emphasis on white-collared crime, we could say anyway. But I think you get the point where I'm coming from, all right? The people in this country, yeah.
But that's why I'm saying that. And I'm very specific. The black people in the PNM, right? If you don't agree with what you're doing, they should hush them out. Really and truly, stay silent. Because I learned black youth from Nova doing this. And when Philip Alexander show you that, listen, I have a certain type of privilege, and you want to criticize you, right? They should just keep quiet. It's okay if you keep quiet. You know, you don't have to have an opinion on everything. Everything don't have to have your opinion. You know, and that what I was totally upset with, right? To see how you, boy, as a little black boy from Nova, but they treat you like if he's a rag doll, man. Like
I swear I had a gun on me or something. And the sad thing is that the people on social media, they're laughing, they're saying he looked for it, he did, oh, this, that, the other. But fail to realize that I did nothing wrong.
Where is the evidence? Where's the evidence you look for it? I didn't see you do nothing to warrant this.
Thank you. Our mentality, our mind here in Trinidad, our minds, we are brainwashed. We support party over anything else. I mean, it's in a song. The way we vote is not the way we party, and that's the reality in Trinidad.
Answer. I think you have some officers who are in the PNM get along gang too, you know.
Let me jump in.
So, you know,
Tommy,
if you know these guys do some things that the commander don't approve of too sometimes, a lot of times, you know. So
hold on, Tommy. Gary, you think that I'll get along PNM gang in the police surface, boy?
Yeah, sure do.
You know,
Tommy.
You know, I think the police service abused their power regardless of who's in office, because when we saw the SOE during the PP stint there, they were very abusive to people from the same areas, Mova, Lavantie, Beetham, and so on and so forth. So basically, we have, like I always keep saying, we have an abuse of power culture in Trinidad and Tobago. Doesn't matter who the hell is in power.
That's true. That is true. And you know, to emphasize the point on what happened outside of the Red House on Tuesday a bit more, I don't know if you guys know about Nyman, Joel Nyman, I forgot their names, but the three men in Move until I was shot and killed by police officers in broad daylight.
Yeah, we know about that.
In broad daylight.
Yeah, we know about
it
that.
Just emphasize the point a bit more, and this is why I'm saying that the people should have stand up and done something about it. But what did we do? We come out, we protest for one day, we go back inside because Gary Griffith say or the government say to pat down. So we pat down, we allow our lives to be taken away, our black brothers to just go down the drain, go in the grave. We allow them to take our black brothers and sisters away. And what do we do about it as black people? We look at the party, we say it's PNM, so it's okay. If it was Kamla, we would have riot. Even more.
Yeah. David, someone says, David, I guess you would have heard the bashing you got from Aisha Wells and Pastor Google for the past 2 days. How do you feel about their comments?
Aisha did that?
Right now, Aisha Wells bashed it,
No.
Aisha listening, boy. I gotta call Aisha. I gotta call Pastor Google too. David, them bash it, boy. But you know Pastor Google, the girl don't get along PNM gang.
Yeah.
Go ahead, David. Go ahead.
They talk from the party line. I mean, they had to toe the party line at the end.
I thought Aisha not.
Please. Aisha Wells says try to promote. She's not a PNM anymore. She just try to promote it. But when election comes around, actually, if she's still in her finger for any different political party now, the answer is a no. A resounding no.
Aisha, I don't call you and talk about that. Aisha Wells is still a PNM. No. David, you sure about that, boy?
It's only facts. And I don't even want to hear about Pastor Google. Pastor Google has ride off the backs of everybody else for abuse. So I don't need to ride off Pastor Google. Pastor Google, nuisance to me. Nuisance.
Pastor Google, boy. Pastor talk to you, boy. Aisha was talking about, boy. Nah. Aisha was that one girl.
Snake in the balize.
No, boy. So listen to this. Someone else says, David, I support you full 100. There's real wickedness going on in the land. Emancipation support communities are waste of time. Them still in existence?
I didn't even know about it.
All right,
what's the name of it? Emancipation? With slaves?
Somebody say, Ansem, you are born again, boy. Blessings to you. Born again Christian? No, my wife is a Seventh-day Adventist. I know that. Someone says, why does everyone have a problem with black people within the folds of the UNC? The UNC is an all-inclusive party. They make no distinction between the poor, rich, color, class, or creed. All right. Everybody's opinion.
But that is true. David,
I didn't want to say it. I wanted somebody else to say it from my hear the hesitation in the voice to say something about it.
David, tell him.
I'm there.
Listen now. We have people who support the UNC here. We have people who support PNM. We have people who support no party.
I never said differently, I was just hearing the hesitation in
the
voice. I agree.
I hear you. But what I'm saying, I hear you in the village. We have people. This is not an anti-PNM or anti-UNC or pro-PNM, pro-UNC in the village. We just bring people. As a matter of fact, we had Harvey Boris on tonight. Harvey Boris is a known PNM, right?
I know, 100%. I tried to battle Harvey Boris on his points, but he's so it's like they grab him by the neck and pull him into the valley.
What do you do with me? They grab me by my foot then and pull me in.
I could tell you what to do with you. They inject lidocaine in your brain.
No. Like the Novocaine. I take the Novocaine. I go take the Novocaine.
A red Novocaine.
I mean, you
so let me see here. Okay.
Election in Trinidad and Tobago, in the last week, the race, everything was twisted down to a racial meaning. It wasn't the issues. It wasn't for everything that you guys were fighting for. Even though you pointed out so much people suffering and what was happening in the country, that didn't matter. The race thing spin around the whole election.
But wait now, Diana. Vonnie Roberts says, Google bash your host, Diana. You played a voice message, boy. What? Diana again 91.9 boy?
What?
With this whole thing that's going on, I remember reaching out to Pastor Google, telling him that if he wants, I can come on the program with him if he wants to talk about what happened. Up to now, no response. But these are the people that talking.
What I say to Pastor Google is they don't pelt stone at mango tree that don't have juicy fruit.
Right. Correct. Love it.
Come and take me on the Pastor Google. I bet you can run faster than me.
I'll get Pastor Google. I'll get to go on the program. Huh?
Level, I will go on the program. He don't want that. Tell him he don't want that at the storm, you know. He sure he wants me to come on that program.
I'll be looking out for that definitely, because they're gonna cause some chaos in Trinidad, definitely. Especially with the ones that has some nice roots inside of the PNM.
Malin Mahabir said, David, we love you.
Thanks so much.
Ulrich, we have a fellow in here called Ulrich, eh? He say from 𝗪𝗂𝗃, eh? But I doesn't know if he's from 𝗪𝗂𝗃 or he just say from 𝗪𝗂𝗃. I think he's from Shogona, or maybe even from Caroni. I don't know. He says, Anslam, I'm listening to you talking, and you're boasting that you're still a PNM supporter. So like you part of the go along, get along gang. Hey, Ulrich, you're not from 𝗪𝗂𝗃. I kick you out at 𝗪𝗂𝗃. Ulrich, how go be I part of the go along, get along gang? And you've been listening to me now, and all the things I've put on the table that the go along, get along gang don't talk about. No, Pastor Google, we started the go along, get along gang. Look how you talking about Diana. Right? Look at
guess what? Aslam, let me defend you.
Yeah, go Tommy. Tommy defend me.
Wall Street speaks truth to power.
Amen.
Every time. And that's it. And that's what this is about. Truth to power.
And tell him what the storm does. Tell him what the storm does.
The storm don't take no prisoners.
So it's all right.
Ulrich is just like to antagonize me, that is it. But David, so what's next for David Welch, man? What's next?
It was the motorcade, but Gary doesn't want it. But
all right, go ahead.
It was the motorcade, but Gary doesn't want the motorcade. So we tell him, all right, no problem, no motorcade, cool, no problem. But I can't sell out my secrets. But we have some plans next to come for Trinidad and Tobago, because every day is something new. Every day is something new in this country.
Let me know what all you're doing. I'm good.
So David, do you see running for a constituency in your future?
If I see myself running for a constituency in the future?
Yes.
I have looked that far in the future, yes. But I have not made plans to run for any constituency, no.
Okay. All right. You know, I thought you would have said, yeah, you want to be one of the longest youngest parliamentarian ever. But you could run for a constituency, though, right?
It really isn't about becoming a parliamentarian, but bringing about change in Trinidad and Tobago. I mean, I would rather work with let me not say nothing. Let me keep my mouth shut until then.
Yeah.
I learned that lesson with Pastor Google. Pastor Google teach me that lesson, not to say nothing.
Yeah, but you're learning from the man is a pastor, so you could always learn from a pastor. You know what I mean? You know, it's too good. But David, boy, we want to say this here, and Tommy, Diana, or Gary, do you guys have anything else for David?
I want to say to the young black brother, get up, stand up for your rights. And if I was in Trinidad, believe you me, I can't walk from Morva to Porterfield. I have a knee replacement. I would have drive behind you, and when you
drive, no need to. I would have taught you on my back.
Oh God, now I kind of tick. You ain't able with me.
That's nothing.
I would have get out by the Red House, and I would have walk with you to deliver your letter. Me, Diana Benskin. Yeah, you know that is the kind of person I am. I just stand up for what's right and pelt away what's wrong. I would have had on 2 masks, and I've been walking with my cane. Let me see if they'll dash me to the ground. I don't need the cane, you know, but I used the cane that day.
Well, let me say this.
Yes.
Yeah, let me go. Of course, folks, it's in the village with DAG Triplets and WZYE 95.9 FM. We have with us activists from Trinidad and Tobago. A little black boy from Mover. I hope you don't get upset with me calling him a little black boy from Mover, but it has a very positive connotation, because I call myself a little black boy from 𝗪𝗂𝗃 as well. you know, and we have with us in the village tonight no other than David Welch, who was brutally arrested by the Trinidad and Tobago police, you know, about 2 days ago. So we're going to go for a quick station identification. David, stick and stay. We'll be right back after this quick station identification.
You're listening to WZYE 95.9 FM. You are listening to WZYE 95.9 FM, the most influential name in Caribbean radio in the tri-state area. Broadcasting from East Orange, New Jersey, the most influential name in Caribbean radio, WZYE 95.9 FM.
Oh, we are back with you. It's in the village with the DAG Triplets on WZYE 95.9 FM. And of course, we have with us in the village tonight, with us no other than the young man from Mova, David Welch. Ulrich says, I want to run for 𝗬𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃.
Oh.
Ulrich, they not no athletic team in no track team in 𝗬𝗃𝗃𝗃, you know. You want to run for 𝗬𝗃𝗃𝗃. What are you talking about?
God, oh, oh,
You mean they want to run for Trinidad? You can't run for you see? Sometimes I wonder that fella from 𝗬𝗃𝗃𝗃, you make me feel kind of bad to be from 𝗬𝗃𝗃𝗃, boy. You know, you want to run for 𝗬𝗃𝗃𝗃. So somebody says, Rose says, please bring this program more often. I just find 1 or 2 days taking too long to reach for me to tune in tonight.
Rose and Ansel may have enough money to pay me for a whole week.
Yeah, for a whole week, boy. Rose, you think it's easy? Rose, you think it's easy to do this program for a whole week? You're mute, David, you're mute. Yeah.
On mute.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. You were saying something, David?
No, go ahead. I just read any comments here too now.
Yeah. We have a thing where we have a lot of comments, and people has a lot of comments, you know, and you think, and but you know, David, is funny, right? When we started this program just used to be on the radio, because we are also on the radio here on 95.9 FM, right? So this program is going all over there. We have people all over the world that listen to the program, right? And we have people, boy, my PNM supporter friends come and tell me, hey, all your program is nothing, all of this and that, all you only have this and all you only have that. And we was just on the radio, right? And we don't come here to this program and tell people share the life, right? I mean, people can say what they want, that's okay. But you see, what we want to do when we come in the village is that we are trying to give people a little brain food. So when you come into the village and you leave, when you leave the village, you go get a little bit of brain food. You know, some program, when you listen to the program, you might go, them, all them same calls again, boy, with the same script. They don't even think, and more critical thinking. Look, we had 4 different people in the village tonight. 4. Right? We have PNM, we have UNC, we have PDP. In Trinidad and Tobago, it's different. It's either you're pro PNM and everything had to be PNM, or you're pro UNC and everything had to be UNC. And I tell people, we just can't continue that way. You know? So,
Yes,
somebody
indeed.
said, Rose say, borrow a loan from China.
It just make me frustrated, boy. And that's why I support what Farley Augustine was saying on the line.
Yeah, I mean, listen, man. You see what Farley Augustine talked tonight? I ain't gonna lie to you, boy. That was real, boy. Real, boy. The man speak truth to power, boy. But you see, the PDP has some real grass rootical people in that PDP, you know. Real good rootical people, man. I ain't gonna lie. You know, and but Farley is good, boy. In Tobago, you're good. They're good. Go ahead.
That's the point I also made tonight, because tonight I did a live and I showed people. Let me get a clip. I showed people. I showed people this. You have people in PDP that are grassroots, but the reason why people don't care, the 1%ers and them don't care, is because this is their life.
Yeah. Gary Griffith, man. Yeah, man. Go ahead, Gary. Go. Yeah. Go swim in the pool now. Dive in the pool. Oh, Dad, you have a pool, right? Gary have a pool. Correct is right. I saw that today too. I said, but wait now, Gary have a pool. But David, we have a pool in Laventine, so don't chase, you know.
Yeah, but
I'm sorry, don't forget the clothes. The clothes, COVID-19 clothes.
Yeah, the clothes.
They can spread COVID in the water. They clothes.
David.
Yes, sir.
Are you hearing me? Yes, this is Tommy. Listen, I was saying that you have now shut up. Your ratings have gone up, and you now have international prominence. You have to take full advantage of it and make sure that you do the right thing with it.
Correct.
You get me?
And we have a person, David, that already made a donation to your cause, eh?
Really?
Right? Yeah. Let me see this here. A person sent me a text. The person made. Hold on. Let me see. I'm not gonna call the person name, but this is just the start. I think the person made a $200 donation to your cause.
Wow.
Right? Yeah. Right, and that's just the start. But you know what it is that? It's just to show people that when you're coming to the village, right, you never know who is listening. And we have a varied audience, and this is the first diaspora program that's dedicated to Trinidad and Tobago. Right? This program that we have there for this, well, it's 3 hours tonight. For this 3 hours, we dedicated to what's going on in Trinidad and Tobago. And the much groundwork that we do. And I'm going to say this for the first time tonight. And I don't even think I told Tommy and Gary and Diana this, right? Tomorrow in 𝗬𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗍𝐿, there's 52 families in the apartment buildings. And I don't think my wife knows this. I'll get in trouble.
No, she does. No, she does.
Okay. I'll get in trouble, boy. Oh, I feel we go talk about that. There's 52 families in the buildings in 𝗬𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗍𝐿. Tomorrow at 10:30 a.m., every one of those families will receive a hamper, a fully stocked hamper with rice, sugar, flour, right? Previously, the councillor for 𝗬𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗍𝐿 went and gave them a hamper with 5 okros. 5 okros, eh?
Oh, God.
I know what it is.
Yeah, 5 okros. So I said to have a family of 6, one of them going okraless. Right? If you have a family of 7, 2 of them going okraless. You understand? Because 5 okros they put in the hampers. And when she tell me that, the person tell me that, right away I tell she, how many apartments have in 𝗬𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃? We come the apartments, 52 apartments. I said, each one of those people, we here at WZYE 95.9 FM will donate a hamper, a fully stocked hamper to each one of those persons. And that is what we're doing tomorrow in 𝗬𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃, my hometown. You understand? Because the councillor was a PNM councillor. Go up there and treating them people, them poor black disadvantaged people, by paying 5 okra in a bag and giving them a yam and tree planting like if they are nobodies. Once she told me that, I say, you see that? Oh, don't worry about that. Everybody, every family in 𝗬𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃 will get a fully stocked hamper from WZYE 95.9 FM. And I send it out to the media, but I ain't hear from them as yet.
Don't blame the councillor, you know. This is what the government, this is what Prime Minister Rowley is giving to the people. This is what he wants to give the people.
No, I understand that, I understand that, right? But if I was the councillor, right, and I had to go and give people a bag with 5 okra, right, I would have gone and try to get another 5 okra and at least give them 10. Don't get them 1 hand. Try to get them 2 hands. You know what I mean? You know, when you get people 1 hand of okra, you know, get them another hand of okra, so at least they go feel good. I mean, they told me that the guy he said, boy, just call me 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 up in Trinidad. I said, 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, you know the woman bring a bag that have 5 okra in it. I said, 5 okra, boy. You know, come on. But you know, so I just said that to them. You know, so but David, boss, and we want to say to you, unless Tommy or Gary or Diana have any other questions for you, we want to say thank you very kindly, you know, and we want you to continue, you know, the battle that you are fighting, man, you know. And somebody says, when will this program be aired again? Hope I get notification. Run, subscribe to our YouTube channel, WZYE TV, and for all those in the chat, so David, let me give you. I know you are very good social media person, You're very good. Where did you learn? Where did you learn social media? By the way.
I did it myself, and I trained myself back in Scouts.
Okay, no, you do a fantastic job, man. A very, very good job.
Thanks.
So, folks,
and just to throw it in your face a little bit, I hear your background. It was from Camera Laptop too. I just had to throw that out there.
That's okay, man. In the village, we go to the village, man. You know, when you come into the village, it's everything, you know. We keep it really in the village, man. We absolutely keep it real. You know, Linda Gibson says Sherman doing 5 okra. Yeah, 5 okra, boy. And I tell them, I want to take picture of your okra, and they say, "Butty boy, you're so hungry, you come from okra, boy." So let me see, hold on. So yes, for the folks who are in the chat, we have been banned by Facebook for 2 months. Somebody report us because we did a show, and I don't know. The reporters have been banned for 2 months. So what you guys can do is subscribe to WZYE TV. It doesn't cost anything. Just subscribe to WZYE TV, and every time the program comes on, right, you will get the notification of WZYE TV. Right. Oh, someone says, so look at a person from Chumaka that says, that's what we deserve, crumbs. Somebody from Chumaka just come and says, that's what we deserve, crumbs.
Wow.
Kathy J, crumbs. Kathy J says, answer the question they will need to answer. Is he an independent activist or a UNC activist?
A question that everyone seems to ask, boy. Wow. I'm an activist. I'm an activist here in Trinidad and Tobago, that Activism for Change. And I openly support the United National Congress. So weigh the two of them however you want to.
And David, I want to tell you something. Keep it real.
Yeah.
Keep it real. You see, like I just tell people, listen, I tell people, every time somebody comes on the program, I just tell them, as a PNM supporter, I don't support what the current government is doing, many things that the current government is doing, but I'm a PNM supporter. I don't want to be like other people, they're afraid to say, boy, well, you know, no, I'm become a mother. No, always told me I've been married 33 years. She said a liar has no memory. It's better you tell the truth rather remember anything. So if
I know what you call that. I'm a PNM supporter, but I don't support this that the PNM doing. You call it a Harvey Boris, right?
Nah, I don't know that.
I think so. I mean, it sounds like Harvey Boris, honestly. It sounds like Harvey.
Nah. When I get to know me, you go, but when I get to know me, you go know better. Don't worry.
I look forward to it.
Kathy says, thanks for your response, David.
No problem.
Right? And that is all. We keep it real. And Rose says, thanks you all for bringing on all these interesting people. And I ain't gonna lie to you, in the village, we have a lot of interesting people coming to the village. You know, and we don't want to make you a stranger to the village also. We don't want to just bring you on when something happens, but we want to bring you on too, just to talk about what's going on in the ground in Trinidad. You understand? Because I like to say this.
Not a problem. Anytime at all. Because what happening to the people is totally, I mean, it's frustrating to me. I had a woman that called me 2 weeks ago telling me that she's prepared to kill herself because she's not getting food to feed her children, and it's very tough for her. Those are things that I, as a 21-year-old, carry with me, and it would be nice to share it with people that would actually listen instead of towing the party line all the time and saying, well, who she vote for and all that kind of crap.
Yeah.
Honestly.
So Kathy says, Kathy says, don't forget to say a prayer for our Soca Warriors boys in the next game. Yes, the Soca Warriors playing Mexico on Saturday, right? And we had Angus Evie on the program. You know, so we just do real different here in the village. We had Angus Evie, the Soca Warriors coach, here with us in the village. I think the day after he became the interim coach of the Soca Warriors, and I told him that soon they got to remove that interim from him and make him the head coach. So Angus boy, we sending out positive vibration to the Soca Warriors. So when they play Mexico, right, they will do the best they can, and then they have 2 other games that they're gonna play, and hopefully, right, they're gonna get out of that division and go on to the quarterfinals or the semifinals in the Gold Cup. So we really want it. Again, folks, all the folks in the chat, go to WZYE TV and you guys can subscribe. And once we are on, you know, and we cut this show down from 3 hours a night to 2 hours, eh? We used to be on, yeah, we used to be on 3 hours, and we say, nah, boy, 2 hours was kind of too long and thing. And look, we already gone 3 hours and 15 minutes tonight.
I guess my paycheck will look good next time.
Yeah, it will look very, very good. Very good.
Miss Diana is doing exactly what Prime Minister Rowley did, you know. I want my money and I want my money now.
No! Yeah, I want my money now. I don't want to take a penny out of it. I want every cent. You know, I ain't donating nothing to people. I want every red cent. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah, somebody said, no, Albert, that was my first vaccine shot. When I did a video when I went for my first vaccine shot. So David boy, if you had to send a message to the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, what would be your message to the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago?
My message will not be different from what Mr. Farley Augustine would have stated. I think unity is what we need. We need a different political system in Trinidad and Tobago. I think we need more consultation, more unity, more love, because we are just breeding a generation to hate each other. We're teaching everyone to hate each other. We are still promoting the party lines and the racism and all of that in Trinidad and Tobago. My message will be the same as Mr. Farley Augustine. Unity, love, consultation, nothing different.
So David boy, we want to thank you so very kindly. And so what we're gonna do, David, we want you to stick and stay with us for a little bit. And David, so Diana, Steve Trini Lopez says, Diana, I saw your video you posted and I said, burn them all.
Burn them. Burn them.
Oh God, burn them, boy. Oh God.
So a storm gonna drown them, not burn them.
Yeah. So David, what we're gonna do, right? We normally have somebody in the chat close the program, but we're gonna have you close the program with us tonight. Since you are on with us tonight. So Diana is gonna go first, then I'm gonna go, then Tommy gonna go, then you're gonna close the program tonight. Cool?
Okay.
Okay.
All right, so there you go, Diana.
All right. Good. I am going to do something on police brutality. The history of police brutality was first documented as early as 1872 in an incident that happened in Chicago and has been growing, and a growing issue all over the world. In simple words, police brutality is the use of excessive or unnecessary force by police officers against civilians. Police brutality against young Black men and women has been perpetrated at alarming rates recently. The fear of being killed by the ones who are supposed to protect you just keeps growing. Not only do young Black men and women face the chance of being criminalized on the street, but also such targeting begins at a young age in places that are typically regarded as safe places, like our homes, as in the case of Breonna Taylor and 𝗹𝗶𝘀𝗵𝐺. Granted, police brutality has been around for many years, but it was not as alarming as it's become now. Imagine if you were a victim of police brutality and you had done nothing wrong, or you didn't even pose a threat to the officer, like our young Black brother, David Welch, who simply wanted to deliver a letter to the commissioner. What message are you sending to the young Black children of Trinidad and Tobago who are taught in elementary school that the police are their friends, and if they are in danger, they are supposed to find a policeman because they represent law and order? If an elementary school child in Trinidad viewed the hostile manner in which Mr. Welch was treated, and they developed a fear of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, can you blame them? Something else to fear in the Twin Republic. The members of the TTPS failed to use their powers as law officers correctly. Those members of the TTPS used misconduct against Mr. Welch in their confrontation with him. Instead of de-escalating the situation, they resorted to police brutality against Mr. Welch, whilst on the following day, another member of the population was allowed to complete the very same transaction, and even went a step further to put up a sign and stood in the same very spot or close proximity. If that ain't some kind of privilege or discrimination, then my name ain't Diana Benskin. I wonder if this SOE in Trinidad and Tobago is being used as a sword or a shield. This is Diana Benskin, your resident poet, bidding you auf Wiedersehen until we meet again. Good night, my beloved people.
There you go. One and only Waveney Diana Benskin, boy. In the words of Frederick Douglass, I prefer to be true to myself, even at the hazard of incurring the ridicule of others, rather than to be false and incur my own abhorrence. That's Frederick Douglass. From where I sit, this is it. The clock on the wall said that's all I like to say, but I've got to go. Remember, hard work beats talent when talent does not work hard. And for every 60 seconds of anger, you lose 1 minute of happiness. Tommy?
Yes. Hello?
Yeah, you're on now. Yeah, you got
okay.
you now.
Okay, the Dalai Lama says, the more you are motivated by love, the more fearless and free your action will be. I like to say today and tomorrow, give a stranger one of your smiles. It might be the only sunshine he or she shall see all day. This one is by H. Jackson Brown Jr. This is your love child thanking you for spending the time with us. We'll see you next time.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Tommy. And David, this is your opportunity to close the program tonight. WZYE 95.9 FM.
The only way I know how, because we keep it real on WZYE TV FM. We keep it real here. So thank you for locking on Trinidad and Tobago into the world by extension. The only place where you get the truth and nothing but the truth. WZYE TV. Keep it locked. Subscribe, follow, tune in. Have an awesome night.
I tell you, David, that was excellent, man. That was excellent. That was really fantastic. And folks, we want to thank everyone. Let me see them quick 3 messages here before we go. Yeah, I want to read something from Lana. Lana said, before we go, Lana said when COVID-19 done, all we in the village 95.9 going to Tobago. Now I agree with that, 1 full 100. Yes, I going to Tobago because they might want me in Trinidad no more. They might friend me. So folks, we're gonna go out tonight with Haiti by David Redder. Again, folks, thank you very much, David. Thank you very kindly, man. We really appreciate you joining us. Take care, okay?
Not a problem. Have a great one.
All right, take care.
Good night, David.
All right.
Bye.
Black but one day we'll turn our heads and look inside you. Haiti, I'm sorry. Hey, Haiti, I'm sorry. One day we turn our heads, restore your glory. When there is anguish in border bricks, it's still Africa crying. We're routing fires in faraway places when our neighbors are just burning. They say the middle passage is gone, so how come overcrowded boats still haunt our lives? I refuse to believe that we good people would forever turn our hearts and our eyes away. Haiti, I'm sorry. We misunderstood you. One day we turn our heads and look inside you. Haiti, I'm sorry. Haiti, I'm sorry. One day we turn our heads, restore your glory. Haiti, I'm sorry.